Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Asherz, and this week my guests are Anthony and Andy from Unidentified S4. You guys, welcome to the show.
Oh, hey,
Hello.
can we talk?
Yeah, you can. Yes,
Oh,
yes, please.
So used to StreamYard and video and stuff. Oh, nice, lovely to meet you, Ashley. We've been in contact on Facebook many a time. Nice to actually get to talk to you in real life, as it were.
God, that's right. I don't think about that a lot because I am a show host, and I've watched you guys on screen. I thought for sure before this point I've talked to both of you, but fuck, maybe I haven't. I don't know.
No, only sort of text chatting on Facebook.
yeah,
About
yeah.
it.
Wow, that's crazy to me. Okay, well, I guess so. No, super exciting to have you guys on. I can't wait to hear from the both of you about so much. You guys have so
Awesome.
much.
So much
I know.
baggage. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have so much baggage. Yeah, I've watched the show. I've listened to you guys talk, just in histories and just the information and the stuff you guys really dig into. I'm
Mm.
excited. So, anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get there. How's your guys' weekend? What'd you guys do?
Well, happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. We just
Yes.
had our holiday. That was nice. We had the entire family over my house for the holidays, which is always a hair pulling out experience. No, I'm only kidding. We had everybody come to my new house this year, which was nice, and my son and his girlfriend and my nieces and nephews. So that was a really nice holiday in the new house. So we had a great time. How was your holiday?
Oh, my holiday was interesting. So Thanksgiving is a weird holiday for me. So my family, we do Christmas really big. Like, that's always been the thing. It's like a big deal. Now, when I was a kid, so I'm very Italian. I have a very Italian family, and I had a big Italian family. And so when I was a kid, we'd all go to my grandma's house. Well, as I grew up and as the other kids and everybody else got older, we just got bigger and bigger, and it got to the
Yeah.
point to where we don't fit in the same spot anymore.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of stopped doing regular Thanksgiving, and so and it was okay. My mom, she works in the medical field. She will take the opportunity to go work. I've always worked various jobs where we're open on Thanksgiving, and so I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I'll work too. I get the holiday pay,
Yeah.
and now I don't have that. I don't have to work holidays anymore, and so it's kind of strange. So it's just me and my daughter, and I thought, this year, sometimes what we'll do is we'll do dinner, and we'll do it on a different day. It's not Thanksgiving, but we didn't even do that this year, and I was like, you know what, I'll start a new tradition. I took my daughter to the movies. We went to the movies.
Oh,
See
cool.
anything good?
No, not really. We saw that new the Thanksgiving movie, the horror movie, and it was all right. I mean, it was a little too gory for her. My daughter's 11, getting ready to be 12, and she's the one that wanted to go see it, right? And I was shocked. And I'm like, well, I love horror movies. I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity. And I think it was it was a little too much for her. So, but
Did
it was
she
okay.
enjoy it? She didn't enjoy it?
She said that it was too much gore.
Oh,
So
okay.
Really?
she did, and it was. I mean, it was pretty. It's Eli Roth. He's known for making some pretty,
Slasher movies, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, some big over the top gore, and so she likes like Scream and tame stuff. That Five Nights at Freddy's movie came out. She
Sure.
loved that.
That's like my
Um,
little one, same thing. My little one's 8
yeah.
and she's a horror fan and we're a big Italian family as well, so we have a lot in common so far, Ashley. Loving horror and being Italian, so that's always a plus. But yeah, my little one, she's a big Michael fan, Michael Myers fan, and Jason. And a couple weeks ago, we had the original Jason on our show,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think that was the first time she sat through one of my entire shows just to watch
What,
Jason on my
what,
show.
Oh,
what, what's his name?
because you,
Gillette,
yeah.
right?
Warrington Gillette.
Welcome Gillette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's neat. I had no idea that happened. Well, you guys have been putting out a lot of content lately, so I'm way behind.
Oh,
Yeah.
we kind of branched out on not just UFOs, but more Bigfoot and cryptids and ghosts and paranormal. There's a lot out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't think that's a bad move at all, and I think that's pretty. With a lot of the listeners here that listen to this type of stuff, they're familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
of
course.
course. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. No, that's very neat. Yeah, she's we went and saw it. It was a little too much for her. We came home and really didn't do anything else, which is odd for me. But Friday night I went out. I was an adult, sort of, and I went out to silent disco. We have it here every month. There's a bar that does silent disco, which is an interesting experience, to say the least. But what's interesting about it is that silent disco is always outside. So for the people listening, if you haven't heard me talk about it, yeah, it's always outside. You There's three different DJs. You wear a pair of headphones, and that's where the music's at. So if you take your
Oh
headphones
wow,
off, you
Yeah.
can hear everybody.
I like that. What a great
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, that's you just hear everyone grunting and snorting and
It is so weird sometimes. So, like I said, there's three different DJs, so you can actually change the channel on your headphones.
oh wow.
So there will be you'll hear people if you take your headphones off, you'll hear people singing two or three different songs at the
That's
same
great.
time.
That's
It's
really cool idea, man. I really like that. That's
So
really
are
it's
there
awesome.
three
yeah.
different? So if there's a group of people and you know a quarter of each one of them are listening to different music, are they all dancing in a different style?
Rhythm.
They are, but like it's funny because so when it's outside normally, so your headphones light up and they're either red, blue, or green, and you're either on the red station, the blue station, or the
Ah,
green station.
okay.
So when it's outside and you're on the red station, usually people tend to gather around the red station DJ. When you're like hanging out with your friends and like you're just kind of talking to them, you're not really listening to the music,
Yeah.
they'll start singing a song and you're like, oh, what channel is that on? Oh, you can see them and you can see their headphones are red and you're like, wait, what am I on? What color am I?
That's cool.
Oh
I never
wow.
heard of that before. That's a first.
It's interesting and it kind of became popular. I feel like back in like around here anyway, about 2018,
I do
and
recall something about it, yeah, but I've never seen or been to one.
it's
No.
neat. It's a neat experience. And then, like I said, you could take your headphones off and you can socialize with people. Well, this particular bar does they do like themed nights when they do their silent disco. So this time it was grandma's house was the theme. And so there's people there and they're like all dressed up like old people. It was fantastic.
Oh wow! So
That's great.
costume as well, cosplay as well.
It,
That's
it, it
great.
can be. And I had no idea because I've only just now started going. They do it once a month and I just started going in October. So I'm very new to this. And I was like, I didn't know how serious people took this. Like I need to I don't need a reason to like I dress up just because. Why the fuck didn't I dress
Yeah,
like an old person?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
So these are you can go to like raves. I've heard in the UK, we have raves and uh, they can be illegal raves. They haven't got a license to set up a DJ unit in a field somewhere, but with the headphones, then they're not. There's no speakers bumping out, so the
Yeah,
police.
no problem then.
exactly. I feel like that's probably where this started, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that's what it seems like. It just people. It's fun. We'll have some raves here too. Sometimes it just depends. It does. It do happen still. And God, I
It
got
should too.
invited to one probably earlier in the year, and I was like, oh my God, raves are still. I haven't been to a rave in like over 10 years. I think I'm too old for that now.
Yeah.
But
Been a while. It's been a while.
right. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't go. I should have, but they're still around. I was like, oh, that's a thing still. But anyway, so it was neat. You go out, you meet people, and then a lot of the times it's the same people that come out. My whole group of friends goes to this, and then you got other regulars, and so you kind of get to know each other. And I'm kind of starting to get to know the people, So
Hey,
yeah. Just like raves, they're called rave buddies because you only ever see them at
at
rave.
the rave, yeah.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think I'd hang out with any of these people outside of the disco, but uh, I'm
There's some
just kidding.
shady characters. Yeah.
No, they're good people. It's a fun time. So I did that, and then I just kind of, gosh, I didn't really do much. I don't know, Andy. You guys don't have Thanksgiving, do you?
Thank goodness. Um, yeah. Thank goodness we have. No, no. No, we don't. Which is, I guess, a blessing. Possibly, I don't know. Your Thanksgiving is it for when you first sort of landed in America? Is that what Thanksgiving is?
Pretty much. I mean, it's kind of a okay. So the first Thanksgiving, for full transparency's sake, for real, the real story is that it was the celebration of when. Yes, the colonists came to America and had completely slaughtered a tribe, so they were celebrating afterwards.
Mhm.
What we're told, though, this is what we're told in school, is that the first Thanksgiving happened because the colonists were having a horrible time. They couldn't grow food. The Native Americans were helping them grow food and hunt and figure out the land, and then they all got together and celebrated together.
Right.
Ah, I heard that the ending was slightly more unpleasant.
Yeah,
But when you think about it, right? Just think about it. These Indians were taken off their land, and they had all these English and other settlers coming in, taking over their land, and still they took the time to not let any of these people go hungry, and they taught them how to farm and how to hunt and how to live in these frigid, cold temperatures and what have you. It just goes to show you what kind of people the Native Americans were. They were beautiful
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
and then they got slaughtered.
It's terrible. It's a
yeah.
horrible situation. But just to think, where their mindset was still to help others, I find that fascinating.
But for me, it was just another normal weekend in terms of. So I generally go out. I met my daughter. She's 18 now. She's grown so quickly. It's crazy. And we generally go, and I'm big into vinyl. So we go looking for a lot of vinyl records from way back when. Um, it just the quality is much better. So and we go around all the flea markets looking for some good old 80s sort of indie punk stuff that I used to like
Very
in my
cool.
youth. And yeah, got a couple of Joy Division albums, which was
Ooh,
cool because I
yeah.
sold most of my originals sort of in the early 90s thinking, oh, I don't need these anymore. And they're taking it because CD was the thing.
Yeah.
Um, and now regret it because they were all originals bought in the 80s. Um, but I'm happy with what I purchased. So generally, that was my weekend: just buying vinyl, coming home, and listening to that. Uh,
Very cool.
Amongst other things, making videos for the show as well. So just generally,
Yeah. I understand. I do retro video game collecting. So that's the hunt is probably the favorite part, right?
yeah,
So every couple of years I'll kind of go through my collection. I just did it. I just got rid of my Nintendo 64. And my reasoning is like, well, I haven't played it in like 10 years. It just sits there. It's just there to look nice. And I feel bad. I
memory.
feel guilty. I
Yeah,
feel like somebody else will play it. So I sold it. And all those games are on my Nintendo Switch now anyway, so I
Right.
have them.
Right.
But probably in another 5 to 10 years I'll regret it. So I'll go back
yeah,
out, I'll go get another one, and I'll start the hunt all over again.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's the fun part, is finding
It'll
the
give you
stuff.
something to do in your old age. And
Exactly.
I've got a couple of Commodore 64s in my loft somewhere, which
Ooh.
I remember buying years ago and just had them, and I just never played them. And the only thing I ever played, I think, was called Frontier, which is like a space game where you travel and you trade. It was like the original, whatever's available now, MV or Envoy or something like that. I can't remember now, but
Sure.
there's like, it's basically a space trading game, but the graphics are horrendously bad. But
Yeah.
it's a memory of when you first played them. That's the bit.
Yeah. I still
Yeah.
Uh,
have all my original Nintendo games in a box here. I'll never get rid of them. Machine. I even have my Atari still somewhere.
Sitting around.
you're a toy
Sitting
collector.
around somewhere in a box. I'm a toy collector, so
Yeah,
I hang on to everything. And
Yeah.
thank God, because like I was telling Andy, I think like last year, all my old Star Wars figures, the original ones and the ships that they came in, if I were to sell them now, I could probably buy a brand new truck with what they're
It's
going for.
crazy, right?
It really is. It really is to think that just because I held on to something from my childhood, uh, how valuable it is today is really amazing. And I really didn't play too much with them. I used to stage them in my room when I was a kid. Like I had the old Falcon hanging from my ceiling and stuff like that. So it was really never played with. It was more like the way I had it presented in my room. And when I took it down and boxed it up, it was still in like mint condition. So if I would ever sell my Millennium Falcon now, I'd probably get a couple grand for it, I
well,
think.
I'd leave
Yeah.
it for your old age again. It'll be worth a
Yeah.
lot more in 20 years' time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it for the kids. That's their
Their inheritance.
Inheritance,
yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
that's their inheritance. Yep. And that is how it is when like I said, I just sold the 64. It's worth $120. And I'm like, I bought it. When I bought it, I was probably Oh, that's probably about 18 or so. I think I got it for like $30.
Oh wow, so you upped on that. That's big value.
I did, yeah. I made out pretty well. And video games right now actually are getting ready to they're getting ready to have crash. They're kind of experiencing so like new in box like sealed stuff is crashing really hard. So I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna get rid of any of this, I just need to do it now. And I'm keeping some of it. Like my some of it's real special to me. The Super Nintendo is real special. I'm not getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Different things. I'm like, yeah, my PlayStation 2 still, it's one of my favorite consoles. I'm not getting rid of that. I'm gonna keep it.
PS2, yeah, that was good fun. I remember those many
Yeah.
years ago. But
I
PS
was I was hooked on a game called F-Zero on Super Nintendo. You remember that game,
Oh
Ashley?
yeah. Oh yeah.
What it was a race car game, Andy, and the cars kind of like hovered over the track.
oh yeah,
I
this
would love to play that again. I haven't seen that since I'm a kid.
Yep, F-Zero. That's a good one. Actually, that one's probably not that's probably pretty easy to find.
well,
Probably.
there's a good game
So
that you can get on your Apple TV. Very similar. It's kind of retro. It's called Riptide.
I
Um,
gotta check that out.
and it hovers, and yeah, and the roads are crazy, and you go through water and all sorts of things. It's pretty cool. Um,
The games from our childhood compared to the games today are like night and day. It's literally like you
yeah.
jump into virtual reality today and you can play these games. It's really crazy today to think how far it's come, right?
Yeah, no, it really is. I'm not great at modern day games, that's why I stick to old games.
Yeah,
Just because they're overwhelming. You know what
they
I
are.
mean?
They
There's a
really are. And have you tried virtual reality games yet by any chance?
I haven't. No, I have
Let me
not.
tell you, when you throw that headset on, they have gloves so you can feel the feeling. They have a vest that you wear in case you get shot and it vibrates and all of that. And when you really immerse yourself into this virtual reality, it's almost as if you're actually there. Like when somebody jumps out at you, you get startled, or if you fall off a cliff, you really think it's happening. It really fully immerses you into the whole feel of the game. It's
is
amazing. You got to
Yeah,
try it. It's crazy.
called the
that's insane.
Oculus, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, how do you pronounce it? The Ovilus?
Oculus, I think.
Oculus?
Oculus,
Yeah.
That's it,
yeah.
yeah.
The
Pretty,
Oculus. My best friend, her kids have one, and I should just go over there and be like, "Let me just play this."
Yeah,
you
Um,
have to try.
you
You
might
have to
feel a
try it.
little dizzy. They can mess with your brain a little when you first start them because you can feel a little nauseous because you're in another world and it
yeah,
messes with your brain and your eyes at the same time.
it's gonna give me a heart attack.
Let me let me tell you, Ashley, once you play like a really good virtual reality game, the way we are with unidentified things and aliens and all that, you really ponder if you're in a virtual reality simulation here on
Oh
Earth.
gosh,
That's how intense these things could be. It's really crazy.
I ponder that now. Do I really need more? No, I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
I wonder. You never know. You never know.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's well, I'm glad because the person that I ended up selling my 64 to is my brother-in-law. So it's staying in the family. That's
Oh,
even
so you
Ah,
can
better.
go
you
play
could always
anytime you
go over
want.
there. Yeah, you could always
Yeah,
go and play, right?
that was a good sale.
I know. I'm like, I gave him a good deal. I did. I gave him a really good deal because I felt bad. He's family. I'm like, look, you're not going to find it at this price, and sold it to him. But yeah, it's in my family now, and so that felt even better. I'm like, okay, I don't feel too terrible about this.
Yeah,
Good.
you'll
You
probably
sold it, and every Monday, Wednesday,
yeah,
and Friday, you get to go play it.
Right.
That's good. Good.
yeah. Or you'll try and sell it you back in 10 years' time for an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah,
Right. Right when it's worth like a grand, he'll be like, "Here you go.
there you
You
go.
want it back?" And my dumbass will be like, "Yeah, I regret selling it."
Inflation and all that.
Right.
Inflation. Right.
It just gets worse and worse. So, but anyway, I did not. I'm irresponsible, and I did not do the news this week. I'm sure that there's weird news out there. I just didn't. I haven't been engaged in it. There was a holiday, you guys. I'm allowed to take time off. And but I do want to remind the listeners. So they're supposed to hear the. I don't know if you guys have seen or not, but I've been doing this co-host search. I have two new co-hosts on this show, and neither of them are here today.
Oh, I heard you had nine co-hosts.
I do have nine of them. It's true.
Wow.
I've been doing my research.
There
Andy and
are
I, we
At
just
first,
mentioned
nine.
two
at
new
first I thought,
co-hosts.
oh, you're not like one. It's not like Spinal Tap where the drummer keeps dying, and you having to replace it with a co-host.
It
Nine
might be,
co-hosts.
but it's
How do
no.
you manage that, Ashley? 9 co-hosts.
Well,
That's
I have three new shows coming out on top of this one. So there's two
you.
co-hosts for this show. They
Right.
alternate every other week. And then the new shows are everybody gets an episode every season.
Oh,
So
that's good. That's
yeah.
cool.
So it is, which those shows haven't come out yet. Although I did start recording them, so that's fantastic.
Are they all the same subject?
Um, so wait, what do you mean? Like weird, or they're all about weird
Yeah,
stuff?
weird
Yeah, yeah.
UFOs.
The shows, yeah, are they all the same?
They
Same.
are, they are. Yeah, they're all pretty much the same thing. I do have a new show coming out where people can share their experiences. So it's not necessarily just the co-host. You'll hear, people, real life people sharing their stories. And then of course, I have another show that is specifically focusing on internet mysteries.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
it's
Oh, wow.
really,
Well,
really exciting.
you've got the right guests on tonight then, because we're certainly a mystery.
We're unidentified.
Yes, unidentified. But yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different, a little slightly different direction. Here on the Wednesday show, it is just a weird variety hour,
That's
and
great.
I like to keep it that way, and I like the format. I think it works. But the other shows are more tailor made to whatever subject is being talked about. So,
Okay.
but my co-host for this week, we're still working out recording schedules. I had all you guys scheduled. I mean, gosh, I've had you guys scheduled to come on this show for like 3 months now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I forgot about it until you messaged us recently.
That's that's what we're getting down to. I'm getting worried about the last couple guests because I'm like, did they remember? Because I wouldn't. So it is. We're going to get back to regularly scheduled shows here at the beginning of the year, just a normal Wednesday. We don't do a lot of guests. You guys know you had to get requested to come on, so
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
that's usually the way it goes. But anyway, the listeners got to hear Tobias last week come on his first official debut. Tobias
Oh, yeah.
Whalen
Yeah.
as the co-host. I just wanted to remind everybody listening that you guys only have until this Sunday, December 3rd, to get your submissions in. Tobias just came out with a brand new book. It's the Singular Fortean Society's Yuletide Guide to High Strangeness.
Oh, cool.
And if you purchase his book and you take a picture of his book and post it on social media and tag either myself or Tobias, you will be entered to win a giveaway, which would be a signed copy of one of his other books. So,
Wow, that's
That's
great.
nice.
yeah,
Is it on Amazon?
it is. It is on Amazon.
So
It
I
is
could take a
available.
screenshot of it and then print it out and then hold
And then
it.
take a picture of you holding the screenshot. That's clever.
That's how mean I am. No, I'm teasing.
No, definitely read it. It's very interesting. It's all about Christmas lore and all the fun stuff outside of Santa Claus. There is a chapter on Santa. I finally got my book delivered a couple days ago. I haven't started reading it yet, but you guys definitely want to check it out. Tobias is going to come back on to do a whole show, a whole Christmas special, surrounding the topics of this book. So if you want to be in the know, read it. Read it.
Sounds cool.
Congratulations on the new book.
Yeah, congratulations. I used to subscribe many years ago to the Fortean Times, which was a thing that we used to get in the UK. I don't think
They're still around. They just celebrated, I think, 60 years of
wow.
of media. Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, shows how old I am because I used to subscribe to it years ago. I haven't obviously seen it. I thought it was out of commission now because it was always paper, like a little booklet almost.
Yeah.
Pamphlet. Are they still? Is it still being printed, or have they gone to internet based?
It is still being printed. Yep.
Oh,
You
wow.
can still subscribe to the Fortean Times. Yep.
Oh my goodness, I'll have to check that out again.
Very
I got a
cool.
couple friends that write for it now. It's crazy to think about, but yeah, that is probably one of the oldest publications on these topics. In print, and they still do it. So,
Wow, that's good to know.
definitely subscribe. I think they do if you're not, because it is UK based. I think if you're not in the UK, they will offer a like a virtual subscription as opposed to the print. I think if you pay for the print, then it's a little bit in the shipping cost to
Sure.
ship it over the
Well,
pond.
if it's still in print, I'll go to my news agents and see if it's there. But news agents used to have it on the shelf all the time, but these days, no, I've never seen it for many a year. Maybe you have to subscribe and they send it to you from whatever their HQ.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of when one thing we talk about in the show a lot is being a kid and seeing the weekly world news at the
Yeah.
grocery stores and whatever. You don't like see them; they're still around, but you don't ever see them in print anywhere anymore. I don't know
Hmm.
if they still do it, but I guess I don't really browse the magazines when I go out to places like that anymore either. So
Yeah,
with the
and
internet,
there's a lot less, and it's cheaper for the publishers just to just put it on the internet now.
yeah, just do it online, right? And I can share it to my Instagram story or whatever. Bat boy marries Bigfoot, whatever you got to
Yeah,
do.
I still like holding the physical copy of the magazine in my hand and flicking through it.
oh yeah, we were in that. Which one? What was that magazine you got published about your experience?
Oh, Paranormality magazine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my podcast is in that. Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I had like 3 stories published in there already. They're great. It's a great magazine. But still, I like physically holding the actual magazine
Yeah.
and flicking through it, opposed to looking on the internet myself. I guess it's just nostalgia. We
Yeah, it's
grew
like
up
vinyl for
with
me,
magazines. Yeah, like vinyl for you, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you've got the sleeve, and you can open the sleeve, and there's usually artwork and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's just something about holding it in your hand, opposed to purchasing it, looking at it online, and then forgetting about it.
Yeah.
Well, we see digital media now being purged, and that's interesting and concerning. So we've had stuff come out in this digital age where it's strictly digital media, and then it never, movies, little indie filmmakers and things like that. They'll do that all the time, and they won't have a physical copy, and then whatever platform was hosting them can just delete it, and it's gone forever.
Right.
And
Again, I found that very odd where you go on, let's say, Amazon, right? And then you pay $18, $19 to purchase the video, and then it's just stored on your TV for however long. And then if you, whatever, you can lose it, let's say, or your
right.
television crash or whatever, then it's gone. And then what? You got to buy it again. That's why
No,
I'd rather
no,
have
no.
the
It should be
actual
linked.
physical
It should
copy.
no. It should be linked to your account. I think So like iCloud, iTunes situation. You can.
I don't trust anything internet like that. Andy's your big trusty internet guy, not me. I
Yeah,
need physical
well,
copies of
I
things.
have a lot of security in place, so
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I'm cool. I mean, I'm an
You're an IT guy.
I'm an
That's
IT
why.
guy of many years, so I'll make sure I'm
Yeah.
safe.
Well, and I don't think I'm not so paranoid that I think that, oh, everything's gonna, just like they're gonna do away with our money, right? We're all gonna use debit cards. I don't use money now anyway.
I
I use
agree.
strictly my card. And but is it scary to think that somebody else could be in control of my money? Yes, but the thing is that ever since we invented bank accounts to begin with, they've always had control of all of our money.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
not any different. It's just the same,
Nope.
but could it happen? Yeah, it can. And
It's gonna happen. Actually,
right.
we're getting closer and closer to it now. Um,
You don't even
paper,
need a
physical
card
money being
anymore.
gone.
So you
Yeah.
don't even. Sorry, Anthony, but you don't even need a card now. All you need is your phone.
Right. Yep.
Correct.
Yep. You just
Correct.
pay with everything right on your phone. Yeah, it is great. Or, if you get one of those like Apple watches, your watch now pays for things,
Yep.
or
Yeah.
it's
That's right.
crazy.
It's
Hmm.
convenient too.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. I don't carry
Aside
cash.
from
You got to
yeah,
rely on the companies to have enough security. You got to rely on them in the hope that they're not going to get hacked. That's the fear that most people have, is that
Yeah.
your personal information is going to be stolen.
But banks for a long time haven't, it's not real. Banks have a lot of money, yes. And when you go and make a physical cash deposit into the bank, they take that money and they don't go and put it in your own individual safety deposit box unless you
no,
have one.
they spend it on you.
They put it all together into one pool that they own. So even 30 years ago, when you had a checking account and you went and put money in your bank, you put $1,000 in your bank account, it's not going into your bank account, it's going into the bank. And
Right,
And
that's
it's making profit for them.
Right.
Yeah, and you
it's
get
no different. It's the same thing that we've been doing since we've had banks.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's just so
And
I'm not.
they are greedy
Yes.
pigs, banks. Let me tell you. I don't know if you ever been in a situation where one of your accounts overdrafted, but last week I had one of my accounts overdraft, and they charged me $105 in overdraft fee.
Right, for what?
So like it went over like $14.
But was
Right.
that every day that it was overdraft? or was that just
Well, what
not?
they do is they charge you like $5.35 per week until you get it back to where it has to be. X
Yeah,
amount of dollars in the account, which I find absurd
Right.
yeah.
because I only have this one account just so my retirement and pension goes in it. And then I take it out of there. I leave like, $200-300 in there. I put it into my actual account.
Hmm.
So for whatever reason, I gave the wrong card to pay the car insurance, and it was short like $14 because I used the wrong debit card. And they billed me $105 in overdraft, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that's
Right.
insane.
That's daylight robbery. That's what they
And
put at the banks.
the split second your next deposit goes in there, they pull it right out.
Yeah, it covers the overdraft. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they
There's
take it from you.
no there's no, pay $10 a week or whatever. No, boom, the minute it goes in, it goes out. And they're the only people that do that. Not even credit card companies do that. You could bang a credit card out for 30 grand and they'll give you, monthly installments or whatever, but not the bank, man. They want it all immediately.
Yep,
And they get it.
you gotta pay it right back. That happened. So the first bad remark I had on my credit is a great story. I was 19 and I went to actually the last remaining Blockbuster in the area. And my
Oh,
husband and I went and we rented a movie. And the movie we rented, okay, was Pootie Tang.
Pootie
Okay.
Tang. What a
Pootie
great
Tang.
movie.
Right, it is. No, Pootie Tang is a fantastic movie.
Yep.
Watch it. So we went and rented Pootie Tang, and I was like, you know what? We're keeping this. They're gonna charge me like what, $9 for the movie. We're just gonna keep it. Fuck it. We couldn't buy it anyway. We wanted to. And so I kept it. Blockbuster had used my debit card from
Oh no.
my old debit card as like an identity for me, and I didn't know they kept that card on file. And I was like, well, we'll just wait till they charge us, and then we'll go and pay the $9 for it. Well, I had moved from the address that my debit card was attached to my parents' address, and they had been sending me mail for like 3 weeks. That I had overdrafted $9, and this $9 turned into $191.
oh my
God.
goodness.
And
Well,
I'm
Pootie
like,
Tang.
that's
for
outrageous.
Pootie Tang. And I was like, I'm like, can I just pay the $9 and buy the movie like I put? No, I couldn't. So that actually was the first bad credit remark that I had at 19 from
Oh my
Pootie
goodness.
Tang.
Well, that's
That had to
crazy.
look funny on your credit report, like delinquent $190, Pootie Tang.
Pootie Tang. I never paid it. Eventually it dropped off my credit. I never paid it, but I do still own Pootie Tang, and I will never get rid of it
Oh, you
now
still have it.
because
Oh, that's good.
well, I
Good
paid
for you.
$191 for it.
Yeah,
So
it's
Hell
probably
yeah.
worth that much now. Probably on the market
My
somewhere.
wife Janine and I were just talking a couple days ago because when we were younger, when we first met, she used to come visit me, and I used to live in Jersey. And every Friday night, we would go rent a movie from Blockbuster when we were kids, and that's like one of our fondest memories. Well, going into Blockbuster, getting your snacks,
no,
picking
yeah,
your movies out, and just hanging out and lounging out. Kids today don't have that luxury of knowing what Blockbuster was.
no,
No,
no, you
that's
don't have to
right.
go out to pick your
Yeah,
movie. You just stay
Right.
in.
it is when we for me, um, we used to, being sneaky, we would have two VHS players so you could record the one that was playing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever did that, but that was good fun because you could just copy the original.
Right. Then you'd have it forever. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
I think I still have a Blockbuster card somewhere in the house, believe it or not.
I do believe that. Yeah, we ended up having Family Video for a while, and yeah, I mean, I think they just went out of business here, just in the last couple of years. And so, but yeah, it was a ritual. And when I first moved out on my own, even though I'm 32, I'm not that old. We had internet and stuff. I didn't have internet and stuff. We had one DVD player and a little 24-inch TV, and so we'd go and rent movies, and that was just a part of it. And you don't get that now. You're not going to have your movie. I mean, it's good because your movie's not going to be unavailable, right?
Yeah.
You can always watch it, but it's also overwhelming to try to choose what you're going to watch.
But but there's again, I keep coming back to vinyl for some reason, but it's the same with video. You'd have your collection, you would, adjust
Mhm.
them, put them into alphabetical order. There was something tactile about the whole thing. Nowadays, there's nothing. It's just everything's on your phone. There's no,
Right.
whereas, you could have a whole collection, although it used to take up most of your living room,
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
video. You know,
Between DVDs and CDs and everything else, forget
well,
it.
the
Took up a
CDs
whole
got
corner.
smaller, didn't they?
Right.
And then, so you could even have even more in your living room of DVDs. But yeah, there was something. The old ways, the old ways were great. But I guess we have to move with the times, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, because you can still do things like collect vinyl, and
Oh,
that's
vinyl for
part of
sure.
who you are,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
True. True.
that is, you're allowed to still have that. It's just that they don't really make new ones. Sometimes they do. Depends on what it is. So, but anyway, lost media is something that I'll get into heavily on the Internet Mystery Show. Actually, so I'm excited to talk about that because I was saying that with the now everything being digital, things are becoming lost legitimately. Which is why I hope that we never fully get rid of physical media. I'm okay with getting rid of cash. Getting rid of physical media, I'll pass on that.
Yeah,
yeah,
me too.
yeah.
I'll keep my physical media. So,
I agree.
anyway, well, now that we've had a little casual banter, let's get to something weird, you guys. Are you ready for that? That's what
Let's
you
do
came
it.
here for,
That
right?
depends how weird we're going.
It gets pretty weird around here, so
The weirder the better. Yeah.
your mileage may vary. Um, yeah, let's talk about, why don't we just, I guess, get into like origin stories. Why don't you give a quick rundown of just basically who you guys are and what you do right now?
Oh, Anthony, you
You want me to
start.
start? I retired from work a couple of years ago. I had two jobs. I worked for the police department in New York, and I also worked for the laborers union in Manhattan. And then I got injured on a job, and I retired. And while I was sitting home, pulling my hair out of my head, bored out of my mind, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, I decided, you know what? I had an encounter when I was younger with a UFO when I was 13, and always had this passion, and I've always went out and filmed the sky and the stars, and I was always involved with Bigfoot and paranormal. So I decided to put the channel together. And once I did that, I was just popping up like basic videos of sightings that people were having and sending in. And then I had met Andy, and we decided to partner up because Andy's very technically inclined on how to make like really cool intros and videos. He knows how to do CGI and stuff. Very talented artist. So when we put the two of us together and formed the channel, it just clicked so well. And then, Andy was like, let's start talking to people, and you need to go out there and let people know who you are and what you do. And we formed Unidentified S4, and the rest is history. But it's a passion, it's a labor of love, I think, for both of us. Um, Getting to go out there and meet all these fascinating people, and getting to explore all these amazing events, and going out to different states and hearing different cases and studying different cases. So, like I said, it's a labor of love for the both of us. I mean, what do you think, Andy?
Well, yeah. I mean, uh, I think I met you on a specific channel.
Correct.
And we just got, yeah, on a YouTube channel. Became regulars, just chatting, saying hello to everyone as you do on YouTube,
Right.
and then I was sort of touting my wares to various UFO channels, saying, you haven't got an intro, or you haven't got any, music to start the show. I'm happy to make something for you guys. And so I made something for Anthony. Well, I made something for the other show first, and then I made one for Anthony. He loved it. And then we got talking. You know what? When we first met, that was about 4 years ago. No,
Yeah.
probably about 5 years ago. The
Yeah.
show's been
Yeah.
going for about four. Um, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm in the UK." He'd not heard of WhatsApp, so I said,
Oh,
"Yeah, give me a call. Here's my number." And he just called me from his normal cell
oh,
number.
Jesus!
That was a mistake.
Did you overdraft your bank account with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. It's like $180 5-minute phone call.
Yeah.
Call London.
I know. So as you can tell, Anthony was pretty technically illiterate at the
Yes.
time,
Very.
and so yeah, I made the video, and then we got chatting on WhatsApp, free of charge, and,
Thank God.
yeah, we sort of had ideas about starting a show, and we said, yeah, let's do it. I think, did we? I'm just trying to remember. Did we sort of to sort of um, prostitute ourselves on lots of other channels first
We
before
sure
we,
did.
did ours, we sort of ingrained ourselves into various other channels,
Mhm.
and they would have us on, and we would just be laughing and taking the mick out of each other most of the time, and people were enjoying it. So we thought,
Yeah,
let's do
let's
our
do
own
it.
live show. And yes, and we were terrified of the first show.
I tell you, I like you said, I didn't know anything about, I wasn't a big YouTube guy. I wasn't aware of it. So I thought when you went live, it was like going live on TV, where like
Yeah,
millions
millions
of
of
people are
views.
going to watch you the minute you're on. And like I remember, I was so nervous the first time. I literally thought I was going to pass out. That's how nervous I got. That
Yeah,
how many people were going
Aw.
to watch.
yeah.
And then the first numbers came back. I think we had like 23 people
We
watch,
were
and
way.
I was like, "That's not so bad."
I don't even have 23 friends.
I was like, that's not so bad. I could do this. And then it got easier and easier. But I tell you, after working all these years with Andy, I get up in the morning. We have the same routine every day. We get up in the morning, we call each other about what's going to go on for the week. And we're pretty much always on the same page now. We can read each other's minds
Yeah,
and we
and
find that
Anthony's
wins with each other.
and Anthony's a lot more technically literate now than he was
Yes, yes.
4 years ago.
I can do everything now. Thank God for Andy's
He knows
expert
everything.
tutelage.
Yeah, I've taught him everything he knows, but I haven't taught
Yes,
him everything I know.
yes, very true.
What I used to say.
I think that's beautiful. Have you met each other yet?
I
Never.
have not been to England yet, no. But Andy knows he has an open invitation to my house, and of course,
So, like Andy was saying, Anthony's really bad at technology, and he totally ruined our whole show. Um,
Yeah,
my
now,
I
fault.
tempt fate. What did
uh,
I say?
Fault.
you know, you gotta love the technology. It really just sucks sometimes. It's okay. It happens anyway. You guys were talking about potentially meeting up in the future.
Well, I wouldn't go
Do we
that
have
far.
to?
He says I've got an open invitation to his place, but he knows he hasn't at my place.
I'm just gonna show up.
I mean,
No,
if
but
Andy's doling out free places to stay in the UK, I'll be there. I mean, if I,
no, you're welcome. You're welcome. There are no locks on
Wow.
any of my doors, though.
I'm just saying to you guys, the most expensive part of travel is the stay. So I don't
In
know.
Yeah,
London, I live in London, so it's extremely expensive. Probably as expensive as New York, I
New
guess.
York, sure, sure.
Ugh, okay, you talked me into it. No, that it is exciting. One of those things where right now the new co-hosts that I have coming on, I haven't met all of the new ones, but the main ones for the show I have met, and these people are people that you build a community with. I mean, you become best friends with people that live in all these other states
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
through doing this type of stuff, and when you finally meet each other, there's like some fire. It's
Or disappointment, Anthony.
Yeah, I tell Andy all the time. I love Andy like a brother. He's literally become family to me.
yeah.
When we're at family functions, I literally walk Andy around on the iPad to say hello to the whole family
Oh
now.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
It is
yeah, no,
cool. Yeah,
he's become family.
I'm
Yeah.
a Gambino as well.
More
So
than
we're
a friend.
three Italians here, right? Three Italians here.
Yeah, Andy's in witness protection in London. He pretends to be from England, but he's really from the Gambino crime family.
It's funny that people when they if they haven't heard me speak, they assume I'm going to come out with a broad sort of New York Italian sort of accent, and then I come out with this British accent. It's a bit of a shocker.
That's true. Well, I ended up getting married, so now my last name's Hilt, but my maiden name's Mayola. So
Oh, there you go.
it's very Italian, very Italian. Interesting family. I kept Hilt. I'm not with my husband anymore, obviously, but I kept Hilt because it was easier to spell.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
just your stage name. Yeah.
you know, but yeah, that's funny. I guess I didn't make that connection. Yeah, we are all Italians here. Well,
Yeah.
and good company.
Good company.
Um, That's so funny. So I want to hear about just kind of individually, now that the audience is kind of up to speed. If they didn't know who you were, they kind of know who you are now. I want to hear you guys talk about how you got into this stuff. I know Anthony, you were saying that you had a UFO encounter as a kid. Do you want to kind of go into that a
Sure.
little bit more?
Yeah. Well, we go back way in time to 1993. We'll let my age in. I was about 13 years old, and my parents had bought me a brand new dirt bike motorcycle, and my friends and I, we had built like a motocross track in the woods across from my home, and every weekend we would go and we would work on the track, and we would practice racing, because once a month we would go to Raceway Park in Englishtown, New Jersey. But we would practice for free in the woods by my house. And I remember, I think it was either a Saturday or a Sunday, very early in the day. We had gone out. It was about 7:30, close to 8 o'clock in the morning. And right around lunchtime, I started running out of fuel. But I wore a school bag, and I kept water bottles and like a little 1.5 gallon gas tank in that school bag. And I had pulled over into the middle of the woods, and I was just filling the bike up. And I remember taking my helmet off and dumping water in my hand from a water bottle and washing my face, and looking up at the sky. And I had noticed what I thought was the stealth bomber flying in, because every year we had the Air and Sea Show come to New York, and that was primarily over the ocean where I lived. And they would fly over Staten Island, turn around, and go back over Brooklyn and Coney Island, do kind of like a big figure eight. So I thought they were preparing for that event. And as this triangular craft started coming closer and closer, it started coming lower and lower. And it looked pretty much like a black triangular sheet of glass, is the only way I can really describe it. Just picture a perfectly cut triangle shape, black frosted glass, had no glare to it or anything. And it came lower and lower, and it was about a football field away from me when it stopped. And I want to say it was maybe, I'll call it 2,500 to 3,000 feet up. So it was rather low, and it was massive, and it just sat there in the sky very slowly. It was turning, and I know it was turning because the points from the triangle would shift position every so often. So it was like very smoothly turning, no sound, none of that. And then I noticed another triangle come from the top of it, and it kind of shifted on a 45, and they sat side by side next to each other, and the two of them were just slowly rotating. And I remember just staring up at the crafts, and I was completely shocked at what I was looking at. And I'm just staring up and trying to figure out what the hell I'm looking at. And as fast as they appeared, they kind of recollected themselves, and I watched the top craft kind of sink back into the second craft. And after they collected themselves, it just went straight up into the sky till I couldn't see it anymore. And the minute the craft was out of my line of sight, I heard my father screaming on the top of his lungs my name. And then my mom and my sister followed suit, and other friends from the neighborhood were screaming my name. And I had yelled, "I'm right over here." And, my dad came running over, and he gave me a big bear hug. I said, "What the hell's going on?" And my father said, "We were looking for you for hours. We thought you had a motorcycle accident." And I said, "No." And then I had brought to his attention, "Did you guys see the black, stealth bomber floating in the sky?" And he didn't even pay attention to me. He's like, "Get that effing bike home now. You're dead. Your mother's going to kill you. We were all out looking for you." And as we're walking home, my father and mom are making me aware too that I've been missing for 5 hours.
Wow.
Now, it felt to me that it was only a couple minutes that I was staring at those objects. Now, mind you, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I got out there. It was about noon when I had stopped to fill up for gas. Now it was going on to 5 o'clock in the evening. So somewhere in that time frame, I had lost 5 hours of missing time. Didn't see no aliens. Didn't board a craft or anything. I just remember looking at it, and then coming to my parents screaming my name. And I never resolved where 5 hours went. My whole life I tried to put that together. Like, how did I lose 5 hours of time? I don't remember anything weird happening or anything like that. Just staring at the objects, and my parents telling me how many hours have gone by. Um, so to this day, I held on to that, and it's always been in the forefront of my mind. And I've always followed these strange alien encounters and stories of people spotting triangular craft. And as I got older, I started talking to more and more people that had very similar experiences, especially with missing time. And nobody can really put together how it happens for them. And I've just immersed myself and I've become fascinated with how people can miss time like that, how it can slip. And a lot of people say, I don't understand how you can miss time like that. And I give them this. I say, have you ever been driving in your car and you get from point A to point B and you don't even know how you did it, like you
Oh
kind of
yeah.
zoned out. Well,
Mhm.
that's exactly how it felt for me. Like I kind of zoned out and came back when my parents called me. So very easily you can miss time and not realize how time could slip from you because it literally happens to people every day. In different occurrences. Like I said, driving, it could happen. But what we're trying to figure out now is where you go when that missing time happens, what happens to you. And Andy and I have heard various collections of stories of people that had missing time. Some people have had experiences where they were brought above on craft, or people had slipped into different time dimensions or parallel dimensions. So the stories are fascinating. And yeah, I've just been immersing myself in that and trying to solve what's going on for many years now, to no avail, unfortunately.
And I
But
think, Anthony, you're starting to sort of, you've kind of changed your views of possibly that it's not a physical abduction; it's more of a conscious abduction. Is that right?
yes, yes, in the various amounts of research that we've done, I've come into the conclusion now, like Andy had said, that they could be abducting not you per se, but your consciousness. Your consciousness is taken. So, in other words, let's say they took my consciousness. My physical body might have just been standing there for that entire period of time, but my energy, my consciousness was taken and had that experience. That's why I can't remember anything. And a lot of these instances, you'll hear people speak. They went to bed, and they remember the abduction almost as if it was a dream. And again, I go back to saying, well, maybe your consciousness was taken. And then Andy and I have talked to a lot of scientists now and a lot of people that study abduction, where they say, what's some of the strange things that they tell us? Your energy can be recycled, such as reincarnation. The body dies, but the energy can transfer
Energy,
into another
yeah.
another person. And a prime example of that, and Andy and I were just speaking of this just a couple of days ago. A small child had remembered a past life. So a 5-year-old child had recalled himself being a World War II fighter pilot. He remembered that he flew a Spitfire plane. He remembered the names of all his relatives. And we're talking about a 5-year-old here.
And the crew that he was flying with.
The crew he fly, what kind of missiles they put on the craft and size ammunition, how many rounds the craft took. I mean, you name it, this 5-year-old knew it. And then some of the family members survived, and they brought in, I believe his sister was one and a cousin. They were like in their late 80s. And they brought these two women into the room with the boy, and he knew exactly who they were.
He knew their name. He
He
knew
knew
the
their
crew
names.
crew
Yeah,
members. He
yeah.
knew
It
what
was
the crew members what job they had on the bomber that were flying. It was a bomber they were flying, I believe.
right. Yeah.
And this was before internet. So how he knew that kind of that always throws me, these kind of tales
Right.
of how is it possible.
So
Um,
again, it would fall to maybe like a transfer of consciousness from
the
one
only,
to
the only
another.
thing I'm thinking about Anthony's experience is that he had two bottles in his bag, and he may have drank the wrong one.
I drank the gasoline.
You might have.
Possible.
You
Possible.
So let's kind of we'll kind of bring. I have so much to say in response to everything that you just said, but I'll slow it down for the listeners, and we're just going to pretend like they know nothing about any of this stuff. Um, so when you had this experience, now okay, I'll start off by saying this: you have some wonderful parents. I'll tell you, I've never met them, but you've
They
had
are.
them on your show before.
Oh yeah, sure.
And they've actually, talked about various experiences that they've had. I remember one episode you did where they were talking about different like paranormal experiences that they had experienced.
Yeah, my mom had a near death experience, and my dad had two paranormal experiences. So yeah,
Mhm.
they're into the stuff. They're
So
into
yeah,
the
they're very open. So eventually, so obviously, as a kid, they're like, "Oh bullshit, you're out there fucking around, whatever it is you're doing, you're in
exactly.
trouble." What do they think about that now?
Well, so many years. I'm doing this over 25 years now. I've taken my both parents out, all my nieces and nephews, my sisters, the whole family comes out. They enjoy it. I think after people have their own experience that they can't explain, it's a little bit easier. But prior to having your own experience, some may find it difficult. And I completely understand that, because if I didn't have an experience like I had, I probably wouldn't believe 90% of the things I hear myself.
Right.
But knowing that I had an actual physical experience like that, and I still can't explain it over 30 years later, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. But there will be a time where you have one of these experiences, via be paranormal or cryptid or UFO, and once that happens, it's like the veil is lifted, and you're shown a glimpse into another reality that you'll never be able to explain.
I
You,
think the
Yeah.
you
show helped as well for your parents because, you know, doing the show, talking to all these other people that we talked to over the last 4 or so years, and they were comfortable enough to come on the show themselves and talk about their experiences, which they probably wouldn't have done, I'm guessing.
Definitely not. Definitely not. And my mother actually said that she felt so much better opening up and telling her story, because a lot of people actually reached out to her after that to tell her about their near death experiences, and she was happy to have people that she can go back and forth with, and share those stories. Now my mother and I, we both share the near death experience happenings, because I had a motorcycle accident when I was 19. I was hit head on by a Ryder moving truck that was going the wrong way down a one way in a turn. It hit me head on, and I was in really bad shape, and my heart stopped twice. But when my heart coded, I went into like this beautiful field, this beautiful open field, and I heard all these voices whispering in the field, in the wind is how I want to describe that. I heard all these voices whispering in the wind that everything's going to be okay and welcome, and is this very weird feeling. And while all of that was going on, I out to the distance, I noticed a figure walking towards me, and I'm screaming for this person to, can you help me find my motorcycle? I had an accident. Now I knew that I had an accident, but I thought I had a concussion, is what I thought happened to me, and I thought that I got thrown in the woods. Funny thing is, these are the same woods I had the UFO encounter in. Is the same woods. I was out in the street, and I thought I got thrown into those woods. And anyway, I'm watching this figure of a man getting closer and closer to me, and he's really distorted. So I think that I had a concussion. Um, and when the man got closer to me, I kept asking him, "Can you help me find my motorcycle?" It was a brand new 900 Ninja motorcycle, and the man wouldn't speak to me. And I keep asking, "Please help me find this motorcycle. I had an accident. My parents are going to kill me. I had no helmet on, and if I don't get this bike home, my dad's going to flip out." And I remember the man asking me if I wanted to go home. And he had asked me the same thing 3 times, and on while he was going into the 3rd time asking me if I wanted to go home, I got really pissed and I started yelling at him. Yeah, I want to go home, god damn it, but I need to find the motorcycle. How many times I got to tell you help me find the bike? And he put his hand on my chest where my heart is, and I woke up in the ambulance. And when I was in the ambulance, I got really scared because they were telling me to keep my you got to keep your head elevated, and they had all these cotton gauze in my mouth because I bit my tongue off.
Oh, wow.
Ouch.
And I had all this gauze in my mouth, and I saw all this blood, and I was really freaking out. My wrist was snapped in a direction that it should never be, and I really got panicked, and I coded again, and my heart stopped again. And the next time I was above this beautiful field, floating. This time I wasn't walking; I was floating, and that only happened very shortly. And then they defibrillated me and gave me adrenaline. And when that woke me up, I came to in the ambulance again, and now I was like wide awake and wired because they gave me a shot of adrenaline. And I was really, really scared. I mean, I was in really bad shape, and I was all this time I couldn't talk because I bit my tongue off. It was swollen like a balloon, and I'm trying to sort out all this weird shit that had happened to me. Like, what did I see? Where did I go? There was no houses. I was in this field, and my mom had one of these experiences, when she was younger, and she kept showing me pictures of family members that had died. She was convinced that, you probably crossed over when your heart stopped, and you probably seen a family member. And I was convinced that I just had a concussion, and it was just a weird scenario from me dying, and
Right.
losing all that blood and your brain slowing down and shutting off and all of that is what I chalked it up to. But we get home, and months had passed, and my mom's pulling out these old Polaroid photos, and there's 2 Polaroids stuck to each other. And when we peel them off, there's a picture of me as a 9-month-old, my mom, this man whose name is Mikey DiGioso and his girlfriend Dolores. And I said, "Who is that man?" And he had black curly hair and a mustache. And I said, "Who is this guy?" And my mom's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "That's the guy I saw when I had the motorcycle accident in the woods. That's the guy that put his hand on me, who I was asking for help." And my mom says, "That's your godfather. He died in a tow truck accident when you were 9 months old. You met him, but you never met him because you were 9 months old." And I said, "Well, that's the man that I seen when I had my accident. That's the guy I asked for help in the woods." And my mom said, "Well, your heart was stopped, so there was no real person there. But how, if I don't remember this man, he died when I was 9 months old, didn't know anything about him, never really heard about him, how would I know who he was
Yeah.
unless I actually had an experience like that on call it another side or another round, whatever you believe. I don't know. Some people aren't religious, whatever it may be. How did I have that encounter? How did I have that experience?" And again, just another weird thing that happened to me that just brings me closer to the strange and unusual, and that these things are real. They really happen.
Well, and also DMT may have something to play with it.
Right. Your brain
Yeah.
releases all sorts of weird chemicals too when your heart
Well,
stops,
there's
and it
been
says that.
recent research to say that this DMT we produce it ourselves now in the brain,
Right. Not
and
only that, what about we did that episode about DMT. Are you familiar with DMT, Ashley?
I am. I've never done it, but
No, me neither. I think
um,
Andy, have you ever tried it?
no comment. Uh,
okay, fair enough. No, I went down the DMT rabbit hole because I have friends that have, and it's interesting because they go under or whatever, they take their DMT and they both go away mentally to somewhere
Right.
else.
yeah,
Right.
But I had two people that could perfectly describe. So they were together in different places, right? But they could see each other interacting with different beings.
See, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about,
that's
Ash.
what I've
How do
heard.
you explain that?
Yeah,
Right. You
there's
can't.
there's
Right.
apparently like three stages of DMT. There's the breakthrough, so which is when you sort of basically lose consciousness. And then there's a waiting room, apparently. Um, yeah, it doesn't play any sort of music or anything like
Elevator
that.
music.
There's no magazines. Uh, uh,
Da-da-da-da. Dun,
and
dun,
then
dun, dun.
and then the third one is the other side, which is the bit where you meet all these aliens or beings. I never reached that side, got that far. Um, but I've been looking into the research of it, and it's fascinating to me. So it could well be the chemical release of DMT
Sure.
that causes these things.
Well, hold on, Andy. Well, how do you explain? Because science is doing a lot of testing with DMT now, and they're
They
keeping
are.
patients under for hours at a time instead of a couple minutes at a time. And all these patients are mapping out the
Oh yeah,
same realm
the
that they're
DMT
visiting.
world.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
DMT world.
yeah.
And oddly enough, so let's say the three of us did it, and
Mm,
then tomorrow they put us under again.
mm.
We would pick up exactly where we left off
Right.
the
Yep.
next time. So how does something like that
That
happen? That's pretty
that that
strange when you think
that
about it.
is yeah. That is obviously I don't have the answers.
Right
I'm
now
still I'm still researching. Um,
that you are.
I'll say if people listen to the show for long enough, then they know one of the earlier projects that I wanted to do was a documentary on DMT and, get it funded and get medical personnel involved and, map the brain while people are under. It hasn't happened. It costs a lot of money, but there are people now doing that. And
yeah.
I did it first, you guys. I tried to do it first. No,
Oh,
it it is really interesting because you have these people that don't know each other. Now,
yeah.
in my case, the people that I knew, they did know each other. However, it would require them to plan this out before they even got high to say, what they're going to say about what they
Yeah.
experience.
What
And
they
Right.
there's
saw,
just no
and things
gain
like
in
that.
that,
Yeah.
Right.
you
Well,
know.
none of these people in these scientific testings with these none of them know each other.
Right. Those people don't know each other, and they're still able to explain what that other person is doing. They can tell
Correct.
you who and what they're talking to. And what's interesting is that these like entities that they see, it varies. There's so many different kinds. And so I guess you could say that just depends on your brain and your culture and kind of what you're brought up thinking and knowing. Except the big bad boy entities that seem to be in control of these little worlds all seem to have a very similar description, and they're kind of nondescript.
Hmm.
Yeah.
People can't really describe what they look like because they're just kind of not, it supersedes looks.
One guy was on Joe Rogan, and he actually did DMT on the show while they were live. And the 10 minutes or so that he was out, he had this whole experience where he had lived 6 months underwater with his family that were aquatic.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And when he came back to, he couldn't breathe the air in the room. He was having all kinds of he thought it was
Struggling.
like a fish out of water experience is basically what he was having. Then when he came to and he was telling his experience, he said, "I just lived 6 months underwater with my whole family was aquatic. My wife, my kids, we all lived underwater. We breathed the oxygen through the water. I had gills." And he really thought as if he lived, this life underwater for 6 months. That's crazy to me. How could something like that happen?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
definitely needs more research.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's exciting. I'm excited that we are researching it now.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
just goes to show that the stigma of this kind of stuff is really starting to break through. We're
Yeah,
starting to get rid of that, and I think that that's great. And that's why people like us do shows like this because
right.
we want to see it taken seriously.
Absolutely.
Because we know that there are other things out there that we don't get.
We know very little about the brain. That's the thing, and we there's so much more we will discover over. I just wish I could live for 1,000 years because I've
To see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see
yeah
it. Well, I'll be honest. No, we know a lot about human brain. We're pretty good at that. It's other things beyond ourselves that we don't understand,
Correct.
and we may not be able to even really scratch the surface of that stuff because we just might not be able to understand it. We're not
we're
capable.
not made we're not
Right.
made that way to be able to see the other things, the other dimensions, even
Mhm.
that,
Right.
that
I
exist.
think we're spiritual beings having a human experience is more or less where I'm looking at things now. Like I was saying earlier, I think we're all energy, and when we die, our energy goes collectively to
It's got to go somewhere,
another
hasn't it?
form.
Yeah.
Something else gathers it. Whether I've heard people say they live past lives as extraterrestrials, or one person told us they lived a past life as a cryptid. And who am I to say that you did or you didn't? I don't know. And maybe very well, maybe you could have, or maybe moving forward when you pass on this time and life ceases to exist in this realm. Who's to say that your energy won't transfer to another world or another planet or even an animal?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten that far in our research yet,
Well,
but it's quite possible.
that was that was kind of the idea, that we come back. I think it's a Buddhist, is it? It's a
Reincarnated,
Buddhist
right?
reincarnation. But
Right.
um, in terms of me and Anthony, we kind of play good cop, bad cop on our show. I'm more your skeptic, and it's not because I just think everyone's making stuff up. I'm just so curious. I have to ask the questions that maybe some people won't ask on the show simply because I want them to give me answers, and most of the time they don't have the answers. But it doesn't mean that I'm dissing their experiences. I'm more. I just want them to give me something to believe in,
Nuts and
in
bolts.
terms of the truth that's out there. But
Yeah.
obviously, we don't. Nobody really has it. I
I
don't
mean, I
believe.
mean, for example, like I won't say names of guests because I'm not like that. But like, we had a guest recently come on that tried to say, like Nibiru is gonna come back to Earth. The 3,000 year round trip is coming. Then they were trying to say that what was it, 5G caused the
Yeah.
recent health
A lot
crisis
of
that
it's
we recently had, and
the
you know,
QAnon stuff. It was
yeah,
mainly sort of QAnon sort of ideas, which I'm really skeptical about. But
Yeah.
Um,
If you're going to go that route, which is fine, everybody's entitled to their own beliefs, but have some evidence and documentation to back it up. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Don't try to sell this idealism on the public
as
with no
fact,
proof whatsoever.
as fact, when people are telling us facts, there are 18 various species of alien.
Alien or right.
It's like, well, how
That's great,
how is
but
it you know this and no one
nobody
else
else
knows
does.
this? And if that's the case, please show me something.
Right.
And a lot of people on the circuit, on the UFO circuit, who just go on stage, they say all this, and they make a lot of money out of it. Um, that's the side of ufology I'm not a fan of,
Yeah.
which is very disappointing, I have to
I
say.
no, I am very much. I'm an investigator first. I'm a podcaster second.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And one a big part of my job is debunking, and I hate that,
Yeah.
you guys. I want to believe in this stuff,
yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah, of
You and me
course.
both. Yeah,
That's why I got into it, right? Is because I do believe in it. It's because I've had experiences. It's because I know, but at the same time, facts are repeatable.
Right.
You can replicate science, and that's when it becomes science. And so, until we can, show up with proof, it's all speculation. And
Exactly.
some of the stuff that people spew is very, I mean, it's clearly incorrect. There's a lot of stuff that you can go, well, I can prove this is wrong, and it's very simple. It's just that people maybe they don't know certain things. God, the pandemic as a whole was a whole thing. We're
oh
very
yeah,
much, yes, the pandemic happened. I was very much a mask wearer during the time.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
my mom works in the medical field, so I know how the sausage is made, and you have these people who, they're not virologists, you know,
that's right. Yeah, they
and
just spew sort of things they hear on the internet and
right,
take them as being true. Yeah,
without
Somebody
even
the person was trying to tell us that because we got the jab, that we had nanobots in our
we've
system
now
that
been
were turning us
programmed.
into cyborgs.
Yeah, we've
I'm
been
like,
I
programmed.
wish.
kidding me? Come
That didn't
on.
happen to me. I didn't get no damn superpowers. I feel
Yeah,
I
gypped, you
wish.
I
guys.
still feel
Yeah.
human. I'm not a cyborg,
Right.
Come on. You know,
And
there
there's a
are
lot of that. There's a
there are
lot of
people
that.
that believe it. Listen, even when it comes to my own personal encounter, I
Right.
tell our audience the same thing. I don't have any tangible evidence to give you. This happened to me when I was 13. So if you're a researcher, take my story with a grain of salt.
Sure.
If I can't prove it, you can't prove it, right?
Mhm.
But there are encounters out there that can be proven, and that's why I try to focus my attention now on those. And we talked to so many interesting people. We just had the recent whistleblowers on our channel. We had Eric Hecker and DC Long, and their stories are absolutely fascinating. And what's even more fascinating is they come with a ton of documentation um,
Right.
for their claims, and that's what I find interesting when I could dive into the paperwork and say, okay, so this now the puzzle pieces are fitting, so maybe this is possible. But when
Right.
people come on and they're just trying to sell their book or the nonsense story that goes with it, yeah, all right, I'll let you talk or whatever. But we're gonna ask you some difficult questions, and don't take it offensively. We just want to know more. That's all.
No, data, data, data. That's what
Right.
was needed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I tell people, even you guys listen to the show, how many times I know you can't answer, but we're going to pretend that you answer. Guys listening, how many times do I tell you guys, don't even just take my word for it. Like actually go out and use critical thinking and go find other
Exactly.
sources and look into it. How many times do I do that? Oh, probably 187 or so. I
Yes,
do it all the time.
yeah. Good
That
for
was me
you.
answering
And
for
Yeah.
the
and
audience.
and I give you a lot of credit for telling your audience to do that, because
Yeah.
being fact-based is what it's all about.
Hmm.
You can't take a story to Congress and say, "Well, here's my proof. I have a claim." No, you have to show them the video. You have to give them samples of the soil, maybe an unknown object that came from the craft that they could study. Without that, it's just a good story. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need tangible evidence to go along to coincide with it.
You
Yeah.
do. And I feel like that's finally, I feel like all of this stuff started off as a serious study, and then it went just way off the rails, and everybody was having fun with the storytelling, and that's fine. And then, especially with the boom of the internet and things like shows like this, not that my show or your shows like that, just these shows became very popular. It's very easy content to create, but they needed stories to continue that. I think a lot of those stories are probably fake, and that's whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that we're finally now starting to get back to the roots of why we all started this in the first place.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think people want the truth. I think they're starting to want the truth now, and I love that. I'm
Yeah.
glad I could be a part of it. So
Sorry to say, I blame big media because big
yes,
media, when they want to have a UFO topic, they'll just pull the biggest names out from the field, despite how many times they were proven to be bullshit artists and
right.
hoaxes. Just because they have 10 million subscribers
When
and hundreds of
they've
millions of followers,
ingratiated themselves into the media,
right?
and so whenever CNN, whoever, Fox, whatever, um, need to speak to someone, they'll always go to the same couple of people, which we
Mhm.
won't name here, but I'm sure you know who they are
Yeah,
actually. And so, and they've been proven to just lie basically about their footage and sightings,
right.
and it's been proven that what they've seen is not. It was just turned out to be,
Nonsense,
you know,
flares or balloons or whatever have
or,
you.
or military craft and stuff like that. But that's because the media is just. I mean, I know there's a theory out there, or a conspiracy theory, should I say, that the media are in it as well. They've been told by higher whatever in the government not to take any of this seriously, and don't have anyone that maybe has some credible evidence on. I don't know if that's a real conspiracy, but there is a thought that that's the case. But I personally have never had an experience in my life, but I'm really fascinated with it and have been for many years. So that's why I keep coming back to it.
Absolutely.
I find that interesting. Yeah. So, Andy, how did you get into these topics?
Oh well, I for me it was reading. So I'm almost 60 now,
Mhm.
and I
You
remember.
lie.
I know. I don't.
You
He doesn't
don't.
look a day over 21. Am I right?
He doesn't. He looks
I,
good for his age,
I
Andy. God
tell
bless him.
myself that every day, but it was the Eric von Daniken Chariots of the Gods that got me into it in the mid 70s. Chariots of the Gods, which is now the Bible of the ancient alien theory.
Right. Hmm.
Um,
I have a
uh,
first print of that book, actually.
you really?
I
What?
do. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Paperback is it in good condition? How is it? Is it?
It's a little rough, but
Yeah,
it's not falling apart.
no,
But
no.
I don't open it.
Well, for that's what sort of got me into it, because my older brother had it and I sort of read it and I was just like, my God, it kind of opened. It's like taking your first drug, or your first beer or whatever. It just my mind just sort of clicked and thought, yeah, man, this is my thing.
That's it.
And then I just read everything I could, Fortune Times. And then sort of early 80s came out. There was Communion, Whitney
Hmm.
Schreiber.
Great
Um,
story. Great story.
and it was the picture the of the book on the cover. That was the thing that got me, because it's kind of like I thought, I know that image. I don't know why I knew it, but it was just something that.
Resonated with you?
What's that?
It resonated with you, the
Uh,
image?
uh, yeah, and yeah, I mean, so it just perpetuated my interest. Arthur C. Clarke. We used to have a TV show. It's probably showed in America as well. Strange tales and things like that about the paranormal and UFOs. And so I've always had that curiosity about the unknown.
Hmm.
And so I wouldn't be doing a UFO show for 4 years
Sure.
if I was
Yeah.
just doing it for uh, shits and giggles, as I say. For me, it was. It's just something that I've always been. I've always thought myself as being a bit of an alien in a human body. Anyway, that's kind of.
You are. You are, Andy, but your parents didn't tell you.
I don't have parents.
You were left a UFO crashed in your backyard when you were younger, and your parents took you and
Yeah,
they made you
and then introduced me to the mob, the
Yeah.
Gambino family.
they
Yeah,
married you to the mob.
but yeah, so that's I've never had any experiences, but I just feel there's something. There's so many things out there that we just don't know, but it's in
Mhm.
our reach, but we just can't grab them.
What's really neat about some of the things that you guys are saying this episode, and I don't know if you listen to the show or not. If you don't, it's fine. But if you, both of you, if you have not, you should both go back and listen to last week's episode where I had my friend Adam Good on. And Adam is a lifelong contactee, and just some of the things that you guys are saying, and you guys don't know each other, it perfectly aligns. It
Oh
perfectly
wow!
aligns with things that he was saying. And that happens so often, even down to the communion, Andy. He said
Oh,
that he saw it in a bookstore, and when he saw the cover, he asked his mom, "Hey, why is my friend on the cover of that book?"
oh
Really?
wow!
Yep,
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yep.
yeah.
And then even down to Anthony, him talking about how these were kind of more physical encounters, but as he's gotten older, they've become more spiritual encounters that he has
Absolutely.
with these things.
That,
So,
wow,
a lot of
that's
parallels there. Yeah.
I'll definitely tune into that show. That was on
A
last
hundred
week, was it?
percent.
Yeah, that was last week's episode. Highly Good Strangeness is the title. So yeah, check that out because it's very interesting. Like I said, you guys don't. I mean, do either of you know Adam Good? I doubt you do, but
I, I,
I do not
I'm
know.
thinking of another good, but not him. There's another.
he's not.
Oh,
He
bite
hasn't done
your
a lot of
tongue,
shows
Andy.
though.
Bite your tongue, Andy. If you're thinking of the good I'm thinking of.
And you
Oh,
all
it
have
is.
A
Yeah.
names, so
That
that's
that is fascinating. Yeah, the communion was like that was it. It's kind of, because that came out a little later. So time had passed after me reading the von Daniken stuff and the 14 Times, and then life moves on and you forget about these things. But it was
sure.
just that book that came out, and it was plastered all over the train stations and the bus stops. That face was just everywhere,
Hmm.
and I think it triggered a lot of people. Around the world,
Yeah,
which and so that just sort of sparked my interest again in the whole phenomena. Um, but there's now we're at a point now, which I wasn't able to come to in my youth, that they could well be in extra dimension creatures
sure.
Extra dimensional, right?
rather than space, because I've always thought, look, the human body can't cope with space for very long. How can these creatures? I know they may have a different biological structure, or they could be even robots. These little grey aliens could be robots, and that's why maybe they can travel millions of light years in space. But all of this is just triggering our interests even more now that new ideas are coming out about what they are
Hmm.
and what they're not.
Especially that they're telling us now that there's 11 different parallel dimensions. So it could be kind of like tuning an old radio where they can bleed in from one dimension into the other. And Andy and I were just talking the other day on our show about the your eyes as a human, you can only see so far into the light
The
spectrum,
light spectrum, yeah.
and then to the left and right, you don't see what's on opposite sides of the light spectrum because our eyes can only see so much.
Hmm.
God only knows what's happening in different spectrums of light. What we're missing, what we can't see because we can't see in those spectrums of light. Just like night vision or flare cameras, when we utilize those, we see so differently too. You can see different things.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
imagine what's going on around you, and you can't even see it. It's very fascinating once you go down that rabbit hole.
There's also there's this idea now that aliens are not from space, but they're demons. They're not extraterrestrials, but they're
Fallen angels and stuff of that nature.
yeah, which has kind of a religious bent to the idea that what these aliens or these creatures are. They're not from space. They're not from another dimension, or they could be from another dimension, but some demonic. But I'm still unsure about that
Have you
completely.
heard about that yet, Ashley?
Oh yeah, I've read John Keel.
Ah, okay, there you go.
He did talk about. I mean, he kind of really he said that these things live here basically all the time. They're kind of constantly here.
Mm.
And I guess I forget. My gosh, I didn't realize this is the first time I'm talking to you guys. Everybody listening knows, you guys don't know, I went to school for astrophysics.
Oh, wow. Oh,
So
brilliant.
I know a little bit about a little bit of things.
Well, you're brilliant.
God, you
Thank
got
You're a mad
you. Thank
scientist.
you. I
two
am. I'm
MCs on the
literally a
show.
mad scientist. No, it's neat. The concepts are really neat. And when you talk about dimension, here's something people don't know. One time somebody argued with me on Facebook about dimensions, and that was very silly because of my background. But um we were talking about what dimensions are, and dimensions aren't what people think they are. When normal people think about dimensions, they think about like Rick and Morty, right? The portal gun,
Yeah.
you go
Right,
through the
right,
other
right.
world. It's not that. Dimensions are perceptions of reality, perceptions of the things around us and how we perceive them and how we can master those. So we are third dimensional creatures. And what that means is that we can perceive and we have mastered length, height, and depth. And that sounds silly. We all took geometry, right? You can envision a cube, but that's exactly what it is. Whereas like a two-dimensional thing, that's a drawing, right? They only have the two dimensions to base off of. You start getting into the other dimensions. The fourth is probably the one that we can still sort of conceptualize. Fourth dimension is
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
So it is the measurement and the mastery of time. So we have a linear time. Right now it is 7:33 my time, and I can't go back to 6:30. It's not going to be 6:30 again. It's just going to
Mhm.
continue.
It might be 6:30 somewhere else.
It might be 6:30 somewhere else, but for me right now it is not. And I will never be able to go back. Well, if I were fourth dimensional, if I had a mastery of in time, I could go back to 6:30. I could go back to 630 if I wanted to. It's basically space travel or time travel. And if we were to ever time travel, that would be a
Mm.
huge deal. That means that we would have evolved from third dimensional creatures to fourth dimensional creatures. So what are the other dimensions? Well, at the fifth, it starts to become very confusing. It gets to the point to where it is incomprehensible.
Mhm.
But it's not just moving along. It's sort of time also, but it's not just moving along time on our one timeline. Now there are other timelines that we can explore and we can perceive, and then it gets weirder and weirder.
So, like
Um,
spaghetti in a bowl type
it
theory.
does,
Okay.
yes, yes. It
It
very much
reminds me of
becomes.
Loki. Have you ever been watching Loki? I don't know if
I've
anyone.
never seen it. No, I've never seen
Uh,
Loki.
I'll check it.
And they can just go. So it's like everybody kind of has their own, because you are a spirit. Well, where does that play into your timelines? Do you have one
Mm.
timeline? Do you have multiple timelines? Well, we don't
Great
know.
question. That is a great
Um,
question. I would love to know the answer to that.
Is
right.
time? Are they starting to think? Scientists starting to think that time is not is. Am I right in thinking it's an element or something like that, rather than? Oh, my brain hurts now because I can't quite
It's a
remember.
lot. It's very overwhelming. It's okay. There's a reason why people don't. There's only like 9,000 astrophysics on the entire planet.
Really,
Like,
that's it?
there is such a little. I don't know if it's actually 9,000, but it is
Mm.
surprisingly really
Low
low.
number. Wow.
So I can't say that's a fact, but I have looked into it. There's not many, and there's a reason for that. It's because these are difficult concepts.
Yeah.
Your brain isn't supposed to grasp them for whatever reason. We're just not made that way. And so physics tells you a very interesting story about, physics is the science of the way that the world works around us. And physics tells us all the time that we don't know shit. That's exactly what it says.
Yeah.
And if you follow like physics journals and things like that, like every 3 months there's something that we discover that it just is mind blowing. It changes how we understood it before.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. And so for us to even try to begin, some people will be like, well, why do aliens come and mutilate cattle?
Mm.
Fuck if we know. We
Yeah.
can't even start to begin to question why. We really don't even understand how they travel, first of all,
Right.
let alone what their motives are.
But Ashley, can I ask you? Do you
Sure.
think over time our brains, or our brains will be able to comprehend this over millennium?
I hope so. Well, so here's the thing. I think that if we could survive And as a species, and we could go on and on and on
Yeah.
for millions of years. Eventually, I think yes, I think we see evolution happen within our own tiny little circles. I think that probably continues to happen throughout the universe. But the problem is that we'll kill our planet before that happens. Our sun will die before that happens.
Yeah.
We won't exist anymore unless we make some crazy breakthrough when we get off the planet or something, which could happen.
Yeah.
But would that
Even
mean then? Would that mean then, since the inception of mankind, that we've only advanced our brains to the 7% usage, and all this time? Then, if you're thinking of the way Andy was thinking, like over millennia, could we advance our brains?
even further.
Yeah. Even further. If you think about it like that, then I would say since the beginning of time, we've only advanced our brains to the usage of 7%. So
But
if you,
that's what Ashley was saying, that if we survive, possibly, but we're destroying the planet,
yeah,
and
right,
whether we get to that
Right.
point, is a
highly doubtful.
So we do already. That's a big, just like people say, well, we've only discovered like 5% of the ocean. We'll use like 5% of our brains. That's not true. Actually, we use all of our brain. Evolution is not us using more of our brain. It's new parts being built on our brain to be used. And so we do see us still evolving right now. I mean, we see that happen. We see different parts of our bodies changing.
haven't we got an alien DNA in our body? So there's some chromosome that they don't know where it
We
came
might.
from.
I
I
haven't
think.
heard. I haven't heard that, but probably I wouldn't be surprised.
That's only you, Andy, and your parents again
Yeah,
didn't tell you that you were
Oh
really an
yeah, sorry, yeah,
alien.
yeah. We used to sit around the fire. My granny used to tell me that. Yeah.
the nice men in the white coats were telling you all about it.
No, check it out.
Electroshock
It's true.
therapy is normal, Andy. It's fine.
I
It's just
believe
you,
it. It must be true. I read it on the internet. No,
right?
but seriously, there's apparently something in our body, a part of the DNA which they can't. I think is it not the God gene or something? I think they call it. I could be wrong, but
I'm not
anyway,
sure. I'm
no.
not sure.
Okay.
I'm unfamiliar with the topic. I'll look it up. But that kind of sounds familiar though. Now that you're saying God gene, that sounds or that's just trendy, and that's what we name things nowadays. The God particle and the God helmet and the God, whatever. Anyway, but I digress. I think that none of us have the answer. I know that none of us have the answer because if we did, then one of us would be filthy fucking rich, and none of us are. So,
No, and we wouldn't be
um,
talking to you, right? Yeah. Well,
Be
you
on
wouldn't be
Fox.
talking to us.
right,
Yeah,
right. But I think it's still important for us to continue to share ideas with each other,
absolutely. Yeah,
because it's sharing those ideas and being able to listen to each other, not being so stuck. And well, I know this for sure. I know this for sure. Here's what I can tell you. This is what I can tell you. I can tell everybody this.
yeah.
And some people believe me, some people don't. It doesn't matter. I saw the Mothman in 2016. I saw this thing with my own eyes. And I went
Really?
on to
Hmm.
experience a very strange life after that. And I can't tell you what any of it means. Do I have some kind of rough idea of what I think it might mean? Probably, but I'm probably dead wrong. I have no idea. I don't know why these things happen to us. Um,
You
and
saw the
again,
Mothman though, so
What did it look like,
yeah.
Ashley? I have to ask. Like, what did it look like to you?
listen, I told you guys when you started talking about Mothman, I was like, don't do this without me on the show. You're already fucking up.
I mean, did it really look like exactly what
The
they depict
statue,
the statue as?
yeah.
No, it doesn't
No?
look anything like the statue. It was just like it was more of it was weird. It like appeared in kind of the room. It was like mist. Okay. Remember overhead projectors at school?
Sure,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So you know how like the teacher would have the projector and then she would like take another page of it and like lay it on top of whatever it was, right? So it was like that. It looked like that as far as physical features go. I mean, it looked like a person. As a matter of fact, at first I thought it was kind of a person, and then it was like forming. I was in a room. I was in a living room, and it was like forming in like the corner of the room, and then the arms, I thought they were arms, started kind of forming out, but then they started coming down, and and I'm like, those are wings. And my brain, that's just kind of what registered, and I got up and I left the room. I wasn't staying for more, so I didn't see more than that.
Was it
That's
your
interesting.
room? Was it in
You in
your
your house?
yeah, in
It
your
was
house?
it was not at my house, so I was at my best friend's house. full disclosure, I tell everybody the story. We had a sleepover. We made pot brownies and
Oh,
partied that night.
Nice.
had you had any before you saw this thing?
Yes, I did. I did. We were winding down at this point in the night. We had eaten our brownies and we had drank a little bit of alcohol, and this wasn't an unusual thing for us to do. We did this all the time.
Regular, okay.
So we were kind of chilling, and I was trying to go to sleep. I'm on our couch. It's about 2 or 3 in the morning, and I am like freaking out. Like all of a sudden, like I'm just freaking out.
Yeah.
And when you're really fucked up and you start freaking out, one thing that you do is you'll kind of pick a spot in the room to kind of focus on and kind
Okay,
of ground
sure.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I did that, I picked this. She had like a TV stand in like the corner of the room, and it was open. And there was like maybe 2 feet between the top of the TV stand and the ceiling. And that's the spot that I picked. And right when I picked it, well, here's the guy. Here's this guy starting to form there in the middle of, in this corner of the room. And yeah, I didn't stay long, but I got up and I went and I went to her bedroom and I woke her up. I'm like, you got to wake up. I'm freaking out. I didn't tell her what I saw.
Okay.
Because the person that I was at the time, I was a complete and total skeptic. I didn't do what I do now. I didn't do none of this.
Okay.
This was, like I said, 2016, and I just kind of was like, I was really fucked up, you guys. I don't know. That's how I rationalize it away. Like
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
this didn't really happen, and it actually was not until I had started doing Mothman research, which again was not really a choice that I had actively made. My whole origin story is very interesting, but I when I got into doing Mothman research, somebody else had shared their encounter that they had with it in 2021 in Atlanta, Georgia. And she had told me, she's like, "No, I'm going to be honest with you." She was like, and we had gummies. We took some THC gummies, and they had seen it at a hotel room. They'd first seen it peeking into the window of their third-story hotel room.
Oh, wow. Third
Um,
story. Wow.
and
Okay.
then they saw it kind of flying around outside, and eventually it just left. So it wasn't just like a one, like they just kind of saw this
Same
thing and
same
it was
thing,
it.
yeah.
It like hung out for a minute, and then it left. And it was when I heard that story. I don't know what about it made me remember this incident that I had. But of course I went to my best friend. I'm like, "You remember that night?" you know?
Yeah.
And of course she remembers. She thought it was hilarious. She was like, "Oh my God, you're just freaking out. It's fine." Like,
So, so,
and
so at the time, Ashley,
yeah,
you at the time of you seeing it, you didn't say, "Oh, that's the Mothman."
no, no.
But what
Okay.
made you think it was a Mothman later on?
As soon as I heard that girl tell that story and that memory went back into my head, it's not, I don't know. I just knew. I don't know how to explain that. I just knew
Sure.
right away.
Why?
Okay.
Because it had wings and the way the arm positioning came down, you just kind of put two and two together with the image and you thought that was it?
No, it's not necessarily that. It's Mothman is a very personal encounter, and it's kind of what I know what preceded in my life right after all that, right after that happened. So it's not just like the physical image of it. I mean, yes, it's pretty similar. Mothman appearances do vary though greatly. It is the direct effect of what happens afterwards that I knew. I was like, holy shit, that makes sense now.
This is very interesting.
It's the
Um,
same when people have come into contact with Bigfoot. It, it's afterwards once that they start to their life kind of changes. They,
Oh, right. We've heard that time and time again.
is that kind of what happened to you?
it is, yes, it is very similar. I uh, comparing it to Bigfoot's not a terrible idea. Um,
Okay,
d-
thank God for
just
that.
well, it's not a bad idea. I think that there's a flesh and blood undiscovered North American ape walking around. That's what I think. However,
Absolutely.
I think that people do have experiences with something. You have people that see Bigfoot and UFOs and Bigfoot and they go home and have poltergeist activity. You had all these other weird Bigfoot encounters. I think that whatever they're seeing in that moment is not actually Bigfoot. It's something presenting as Bigfoot. And it depends on a lot of things. I don't know why my thing looked like that. But I like to compare it. Okay, here's another one. Not Mothman. Let's call it something else. Let's call it something else that looks exactly like the Mothman. Angels. Angel encounters. It
Winged beings. Yeah. Okay.
very similar and very similar experiences. Somebody encounters an angel, and then they have kind of a series of life-altering events afterwards.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
a very personal encounter. And, it's the same phenomena, and some people see it in different ways. Some people might see it in Bigfoot, some people might see it in, who knows? They might think they saw a Wendigo or whatever. They're not actually seeing those
Do you
things.
live in the state where the Mothman is supposed to come from?
So I live in Ohio, which the Mothman flap of 66 and 67 happened along the Ohio River, right on the border
Ah,
of Ohio and West Virginia.
yeah.
So I do live kind of in that area. I don't believe that flaps exist, like UFO flaps and the
Mm,
Mothman flap. I think that this stuff happens all the time. It's just that in the instances where you seem to have a concentrated timeline of experiences, it's because people have somebody to report it to.
yeah.
During the Mothman encounters, they had John Keel, who came there just to study this stuff.
But my understanding about the Mothman, though, it's a people consider it to be an urban myth because
Mhm.
it's relatively a new cryptid, and there's no tales of it from Native Americans.
Oh,
So
yes, there are.
oh, there you go.
The Algonquins have the
I'm,
flying head.
oh
Um,
wow,
yeah,
tell me more.
which
Yeah.
is like a black mass with wings. Sometimes it appears to be kind of actually very hairy. Um, and it appears in villages, and it's a bad omen when it appears.
Wow. How
Oh,
about that?
okay. But that is the origins of the Mothman, then.
There,
Is it?
I mean, I think that it's very much the same thing.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we've given it the name the Mothman. Like Ashley was saying, the Algonquin Indians, for them, it could have been, would you say, the flying head, and it could still be, one
The
of the same
flying head.
creature,
Mm,
right?
Yep.
yeah.
And
Okay.
so that is that's been my job, is to make sure that people understand that yes, we call it the Mothman, but it's the same thing. What's his name? Nate Brislin, my good friend Nate Brislin. He just put out a book on pale crawlers, which are like the pale, thin humanoid type things.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh, in
Yeah.
California?
no, that's the
Well,
Fresno night crawlers. This is the
that's it,
walking pants.
Nightcrawler. Forgive me.
Pale crawlers look like humans. They're like think of like the creatures from The Descent. You ever seen that movie?
Okay, yeah.
Cave dwellers. That image, that thing has been around for so long. The North Americans, well, guess what they called it? They called it the Wendigo.
Uh-huh.
Ah.
That's what the Wendigo is. The over actually across the pond, over in Andyland, they call it the
Hey.
Ghoul.
Oh, yes, the ghoul.
Ghoul.
The
The
ghoul.
I'm getting
Ghoul.
ready to look into the Jersey Devil
Ooh,
this
that's a
summer.
good one. That's a good
Yeah,
one. That one's
gonna
fun.
go out to the Jersey Pine Barrens and check that out.
Oh man, that is a weird place. That's a weird fucking place.
Certainly, I've been there many times because my family's from
Oh yeah,
Jersey,
that's right.
and
Yeah, you're from there.
the Pine Barrens. I mean, you can very easily get lost in there. They're gigantic.
Yeah.
Very easily get turned around in there and get lost.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people have had issues with their GPS, and they've issues with the compass in there. So it's going to be a fun investigation.
Oh yeah, that'll
The
be
Jersey
neat.
Devil.
And what about those? And maybe you've already mentioned them, but those I don't know what they're called, unfortunately. But it's like they're walking on stilts, a weird sort of walk very weirdly.
Yeah,
And
those are the Fresno
The
Nightcrawlers, right?
yeah,
Is that what they're called?
The Fresno Nightcrawlers, they look like
uh,
walking pants.
yeah,
Yeah,
now
right.
has anything come of that? I mean, has that been debunked or what? Because they
That's
are.
a really good question. So there is a video on YouTube. I will try to find it for the listeners. I'll try to send it to you guys, where somebody did it's not there's two different kinds. There's one guy did it and it was like with CGI, but there's somebody that did it practically with like puppetry, and it looked really damn good. And so the
Fact or fake?
videos,
I think Fact or Faked did that.
I
Is what
think
you're
you're
thinking of?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And it does look really good. So it's like, okay, the videos could easily be faked. However, let me tell you guys something. We have that same creature here. There are at least two reports of that same creature here in Ohio.
Oh wow!
Mm.
We have I think it's the Mount Camel, I think. creature, which was essentially a sighting of the same thing by multiple people. And then I took a personal report from somebody who said that back in the 90s, he was at his job. He was working at a restaurant in Columbus, Ohio, and they were closing. And while they're closing and they're getting ready to leave, one of the employees is outside smoking a cigarette in the back, and they saw this tall white thing. It was just all legs, and it was wandering around. It was very weird. It seemed like it wasn't really doing anything with any rhyme or reason, and it wandered around out there for about an hour before they all were brave enough to leave. So what the hell is that? What is that? Is that a whole other species of alien? Again, you're not going to find a Fresno nightcrawler nest anywhere.
Yeah.
They don't move very fast, and it's like,
No.
well, they're not. I mean, watching them on video is quite scary, but I mean, you could probably run and knock them over. They look so flimsy. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Or grab on one of the legs and just kind of go for the ride, see where they're
Yeah,
going,
yeah, yeah,
Um, but they're not going to grab you. They don't have arms or mouths, I don't think, to
yeah.
bite.
Who
I,
knows what powers they have, though? That's the thing.
it's not practical. It doesn't make sense at all. And as a skeptic, I'm like, okay, those videos are bullshit. But as somebody who studies this stuff and does this literally this my whole life, this is what I do. There are other strange encounters, one-off encounters of weird things, and when you sit down and you talk to these people, you just know that even though what they experience doesn't make sense, that shit happened. That fucking happened, and I don't care what you say.
I'm sure I know shit happens. I just
Shit
Without a
happens.
doubt.
don't have any proof of any of it.
I
That's the thing.
know. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And like I said, what is that? Is that a whole other species of something else? Is it this same weird phenomena that pops up and just
And
takes
where
a
do they go?
form?
Where
Yeah.
do they go? I mean, they're really tall things, so if it's not as if they, live in a bush or something. It's like, what the hell are they?
And that's what he said. He said something very specific. He said it was about 11 feet tall. And I thought that was weird.
Wow, 11 feet tall.
11
Yeah,
feet tall, that thing walking around out back of their restaurant in Columbus, Ohio. I thought that specifying 11 feet was weird. First of all, 11 feet is massive. Okay.
Certainly.
It's so much bigger than people realize. Second of all, people don't usually say 11 feet. You know what they say? It's 10 foot. It was 12
yeah,
foot. It was 8
yeah.
feet. It just seems so oddly specific. And
It is an odd number. Yeah.
maybe it's a detail he added. I don't know. I haven't talked to the guy since then. It's been a very long time, but you're not going to find him on a podcast anywhere. He's not out there telling the story.
Was it
Yeah.
wearing heels?
Had some sexy red heels on. It's walking around
Where you going, Andy, in this conversation,
Me,
buddy?
I always go to the heels.
Right to the heels.
straight to the heels.
But-
That's
but,
his. That's Andy's Achilles heel.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, boom. Well done. Very good. But that is fascinating because there's something very eerie about those things.
Yeah.
Something very creepy about them if
Oh,
they
yeah.
are real.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to bump into one.
They're very strange. I have a somebody made me like a plushie of it, and it just looks like a giant tooth. Honestly, it's adorable. But anyway, I want to get back to you guys because I want to talk about. I'm very curious. You have definitely started really getting into the cryptid world lately.
Well, fascinated by it.
And Long Island Bigfoot, he kind of wetted our whistle on the whole Bigfoot thing, I think.
Yeah, after I've gone out and we have a cabin up in Pennsylvania, so I'm out in the woods a couple times a year.
That's a great area for Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they have their own Bigfoot radio station up there. But I've gone out many times. By myself, I've heard what I think was vocalization between two of them once in all these years that I've been up there. Aside from that, I've only seen bear and deer and various animals. I've gone out with Mike, Long Island Bigfoot, and we were up in the Catskills, and we were a couple miles up into this mountain, and we just made our own trail. We were in the middle of nowhere, and we stumbled upon some rather large tracks that again could be bear because bears, they step into their rear paws, and their front paws, they step into each other, so
Mhm.
they kind of make what looks like one big print when they're walking. But there was only 3 tracks, and then it ended in the mud. It was like mud and moss and very easy to leave prints. And there was three of these prints, and they were separated about 7 or so feet from each other in distance. And then we heard twigs snapping. Then a rock got thrown, and so now we're like really freaked out. It's pitch black. We're in the middle of the Catskills, on the side of this mountain. Had no idea which way was in or out. We kind of got turned around. So we both turn on our night vision, and in the night vision, I'm seeing, and I'm swearing that I'm seeing this huge mass stand there and then crouch down and then pop up again. So now I freaked myself out to the point where I think that I'm staring at a Sasquatch.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
that,
I've showed the video; it got thousands of views, and a lot of people think that I possibly filmed a Sasquatch, but I did not physically actually see a hairy
Sure.
bipedal being. I just seen something that in the night vision appeared to be very tall, wide humanoid,
Mhm.
and that's what I got on the night vision, and I really scared the shit out of myself while I was filming
yeah.
that,
You
and Mike
sounded like
wasn't helping.
Elmer Fudd at the one point.
Yeah, and Mike didn't help because he's standing next to me. He's like, "Yeah, just enjoy the experience. You're having an encounter now." I'm really shitting my pants.
Yeah, you were
'Cause I'm like,
terrified.
"Dude, I only have a can of mace on me. You told me not to bring my gun, and it's just me and you, a can of mace, and this. If that's a Sasquatch, he's gonna kill us." Anyway, the thing wandered out of frame, and we walked out. And as we're walking out in the video, you see me walking backwards, looking behind me as he's walking forward, because I was really shook. This whatever I filmed was huge. But after reviewing the footage with Andy and watching it a couple more times, I'm thinking now maybe I parallaxed the woods. Like, you know how like branches and different objects when
Mhm.
they're swinging in the wind
Yeah,
can give you the like an optical illusion in the camera, and you think you're staring at a bipedal figure, but really it's just you're parallaxing the woods from
Sure.
different angles.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think more logically now that could have been what it was.
Sure.
Obviously I scrutinise the video over and over and over
Right.
again.
'Cause
I
that's
might,
what he
well,
does. He doesn't
as
let me
I
have my
do.
moment.
Uh,
Ruins the fun.
Ruins the fun.
I have so much fun. I always piss on this bonfire. Um, but
But
yeah,
we got into the cryptids. I'm totally fascinated by them. I do believe that there is a bipedal thing out there, creature that has not yet to be discovered.
yeah,
And
there are
Sasquatch,
two trains of thought. It's either a gigantopithecus,
Gigantopithecus.
or it's something more
Mhm.
celestial or spiritual. It's a,
Well, what's interesting, and this is like a factoid that people kind of overlook, because I'm very hardcore. Like, cryptozoology is a science. It's a zoological based science, and that makes people angry. That doesn't mean I don't believe in other things. Obviously, you guys, I just told you about how I saw the Mothman, and
Right,
it just means that to me, it's all about undiscovered animals. Um, a lot of things people kind of take for granted in our regular world, and they overlook, and it is cryptozoology. The ivory-billed woodpecker that's going on right now, I believe is either just got brought out of extinction or
mm,
will be bringing brought out of extinction. That's cryptozoology,
yeah.
and people don't get that. Now, last year in North America, we had actually discovered our first North American fossilized primate, and it's not Gigantopithecus.
What was
Um,
it?
I don't remember what it's called. I'd have to look it up. But that's what I'm saying, right? Wasn't big news in the Bigfoot community, and I don't know why. I think because people love to believe that these things are some type of interdimensional something or the other.
yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately, and this was actual physical evidence that could back up us just having, we probably have a very tiny population. Whatever this thing is, it's a very tiny population, which is why
mm.
we miss it. And it's smart enough to know to stay away from us, and they do it on purpose.
Here's the thing
Um,
with it though, because we've interviewed. In fact, we interviewed someone recently called oh, I forget the surname, Anthony. We had them on the show. So they've got 18-inch feet, 20-inch feet, and they're 9 feet tall. I mean, how can
Oh, you're talking about Carl Supp?
yeah, Colsop, how can they hide something that large can just hide or moves that fast. That's the bit that troubles me as to how something that large can.
I don't think they're that big personally. And I know that sounds crazy, but what's the gold standard for Bigfoot? It's the Patterson-Gimlin film,
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's the gold standard. For a lot of us, if you really look into that footage, you really look into the backstory. Some people that are just like, "Nah, it's a guy in a suit." It wasn't. That that is a
Well,
real
we've
I
animal.
don't
seen
think so.
you've seen.
I've seen the man who alleged to be in
Right.
that suit,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, I don't buy that for a
He wasn't
second.
in that suit. Right.
No
I
There's
mean,
way.
also been research. I mean, you've probably seen actually they've really they've made it a 4K video and they were able to determine the movement, the body,
oh
the
yeah.
muscle mass, and
And
all
it's
that.
female. The morphology tells us
Right.
that it was female. It had
It's a
breasts.
female.
I mean,
Right.
two
Now when
guys
people
aren't going to say, "Let me build a Bigfoot costume as female." Two cowboys are just not going to do that.
Well, and the skeptics will tell you, well, if you look at Roger Patterson's notes that he was taking, he drew pictures of female Bigfoot. Roger Patterson was taking notes of actual encounters that people were having. So
Right.
if he's
Yeah,
drawing
Right.
pictures of female Bigfoot, it's because that's what people are seeing. And there's so much. I mean, I seriously could do a whole episode on it. People have talked it to death. I won't. I won't. Drill it home anymore. But here's my personal and professional opinion. That is 100% a Bigfoot. That's what you're saying in that film. So if
100%.
if we are basing Bigfoot off of that image, well, here's one thing that we know about Patty. She really wasn't that tall. She was just under 7 foot.
but aren't females normally shorter than
Shorter.
males?
Not always. It depends on the animal. In some instances, in some animals, you do have females are larger.
Okay.
It just depends. Humans, so height wise, in humans, males do typically tend to be bigger, and we're just primates. But women are larger in mass and always had been as far as us being animals go. Um, because we have to, protect the young in a different way. We're with them all the time.
Right. Right.
So I mean, it could be, we don't know. She could, we don't know. We haven't caught two Bigfoot yet to compare them of different sexes, but it's not outside of the realm of her being larger. That could happen. Now she could also be on the smaller side. But the only thing that we know for sure is that with her height, and we do know this for sure because we know where that video took place. We've done measurements. She's only just shy of 7 foot. She's not that big. Now, when people see a Bigfoot, I'm not saying that, you know, people don't see it and then they say, oh, it's 9 foot and that they're lying, or, it's 15 feet and they're lying.
Well,
They're not
depth
lying.
perception can throw you off. You don't know if it's standing on an incline or a decline.
A lot
So
of
Right.
the
It's
time,
going to look
it's
bigger.
all over
It's
the
scared.
place, right? Yeah.
Scary things look, it's like when you see a spider in your house. You're like, oh, that spider was like the whole size of my hand and it's the size of
yeah,
your fingernail.
Right, right, right.
That's what we do.
yeah.
Yep.
And we're notoriously bad at measuring stuff. That's why there's the measurements on the doors and gas stations and
And
stuff.
especially in the woods,
Oh yeah.
at dusk or whatever, your senses are all over the place.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, especially when you think you're seeing a massive creature like that. Your depth perception, yeah, all your senses are enhanced in a moment like that. You're frightened. You're
Yeah.
all over the place.
I don't think that they're as big as some people say that they are. And I've never seen one. I've never encountered one before to say, but I just think that, morphology, it doesn't make sense for them to be that large. They could be
Andy,
7 foot.
Andy and I just uploaded a Bigfoot video that came in. It's actually two videos that we put together of a trail cam, and if it is a real Sasquatch, and I don't think it is, but if it is, it only looks about 5 foot tall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I found odd to begin with, but again, it only appeared to be like 5 foot, 5 foot 5
And
or
you can
so.
see the face. It's
You
like
can
a
see the
man's
face pretty
face.
clear. Yeah, it looks like a human being in a hairsuit, basically. But
It's it's well made. The video, whether it's. I mean, the video that we, not the
Oh,
video. How?
Andy's like, someone put a lot of good effort into it.
Yeah,
it's fake.
they,
Yeah, somebody put a lot of good effort
they
into it.
certainly did. Yeah,
It's allegedly a trail cam video of it. And it's been making the rounds on YouTube, and we put it through our channel to see what our
Sure.
viewers think. But technology today,
Yeah.
makeup, costumes, all of that stuff's readily available to everyone today.
Yes.
And then you add a little CGI enhancement to it, and you stage the scenery just right, and you could do anything today.
Oh yeah.
and that's what bothers me. Like you said, you would physically have to capture
Oh
an
yeah.
actual being to study until we could
Well,
physically
it's the
say, "Oh
same.
yeah,
It's the
it's
same.
definitely out there."
We have the same issues with all of these things, whether it's
Everything,
UFOs,
aliens, ghosts,
ghosts,
cryptids, it's all the same.
either very blurred or you just catch a glimpse. We've not had anything like definitive.
Right.
That's the frustrating part.
It is. No, I agree. And I've said that we can't prove this stuff with video and photo evidence anymore. I
Yeah,
mean, we couldn't prove it back then either. If we could have, then we would have seen Patty and we'd be like, oh, that's real. Oh, and
yeah,
that's that. We can't prove this stuff that
yeah,
way. And even though it's fascinating, it's fun to look at. I like to look at it. People send me videos and pictures and all kinds of stuff all the time, and it is neat. I've got my own videos and pictures of things, and I think they're neat. I still can't prove anything,
yeah,
with it. So I mean, that's just I feel pretty indifferent about most of it. So,
yeah, yeah.
but I just want to know, Andy, you guys don't have cryptids over
We have
there.
badgers and foxes and squirrels,
You get
but
the alien big cats. You guys do have that. That's your cryptid.
yeah, no, I think most of them have just been proven to be like
House cats.
uh,
Big house cats.
house cats that have just filmed in a particular way that make them look like they're pumas and things like that.
Sure.
No, we don't. We don't. I mean, we have UFO sightings,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
and ghosts galore. Ghosts is a big thing over there.
yeah, well, it's such an ancient thing, and Carl Sup yesterday was talking about a Bigfoot recording because he'd been recording audio, and they're supposed to talk, and
Oh, like Ron Moorhead, the
yeah,
Sierra
Oh yeah.
sounds that were recorded. Yeah,
yeah, and it
and
turned out it was a Gaelic language, like
yeah,
ancient, 400 years ago or whatever.
apparently in his research, he was putting out like a drawing of a dog, and then he would write DOG, and then he would put out a picture of a cat, right, CAT, and apparently twice, once it turned over the paper. And it would appear to just be like a couple lines drawn on the paper, right? But it ended up being like ancient Gaelic is what it was writing in, and it was like a 400-year-old language when he brought it to some
Oh, I think
college
it's
to get
400
analyzed or
AD. I
something,
think it was 400 AD. I think or
something
something.
like that.
And I said, well, why would a Bigfoot in North America or whatever
Know
it was
that,
speak Gaelic? And then,
Right.
he then mentioned the fact that a long time ago the continents were all joined together and they
land bridge.
from one part of the planet to the other, and then got stuck. In a way, I'm quite glad they're stuck in your part of the woods. Not
Some
yet.
of these theories that people come up with are fascinating, though.
We're a small island, so we'd probably be overrun with Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You'd all be dead, I think.
Yeah. My goodness.
They would have won that fight.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
absolutely.
is. It is an interesting perspective that you have, because we have so many here. You guys do have a lot. You have like different water creatures and things like that.
Oh,
I
Loch
suppose.
Ness. Yeah, Loch Ness monster.
Oh yeah,
Um, Again, it's blurry pictures and nothing nothing proven.
sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
big. So it's a Loch Ness monster apparently, and there's a guy that lives on the banks of Loch Ness. He's been there for. I think he used to be like an accountant about 40 years ago, and he decided he's going to be the first person to get a proper photo of Bigfoot. People come and visit him. He's become a tourist attraction. Um, he hasn't caught anything yet, fortunately.
Not yet. Yeah.
Not yet.
Well, we'll continue to hold out hope. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I'm largely skeptical of a lot of the fantastic claims people make surrounding Bigfoot and just things in general. Again, that's part of my job. I don't do it because it's fun for me. It's not fun for me to disprove something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
the stuff that I can't disprove that is fun for me. So Andy, I sympathize with you a lot. I know how hard it is to be the skeptic in this community.
yeah, yeah.
And so I get it.
But I try and be skeptical in a positive way. I'm not someone
Yeah.
that just sort of jumps down someone's throat and says, "Prove it to me, prove it to me." I'm generally very appreciative of what they're saying, but I will sort of obviously have to ask some of the questions. They're not even hard questions, but just critical thinking questions.
Yeah, just critical thinking, exactly.
Now you guys are nicer than I am. I'll call someone out on their bullshit. I'm like, "Oh, you got a whole family of Bigfoot lives inside your apartment? Invite me over."
No, we probably wouldn't have a show if we kept doing
Yeah,
that. I have to say, and
unfortunately.
I have been tempted to do that.
Plenty of times we've been tempted to do that. But,
I'm so mean. Then they're always like, "I don't have to prove anything to you," and it's like, "It's because you
exactly.
can't."
Who are you that I gotta prove this shit to?
And we end up it would turn our show into so many other shows where they're known as a debunking channel, and
Yeah.
that's
Right.
not what we are per se.
We
We're
want
more
you to come to our channel and,
we're
and feel
curious.
comfortable, tell your story, and you just let the audience decide for
Yes.
themselves. We'll ask you some skeptical questions. That's Andy's part. My part is to more coincide with what they're saying and just have a good time and get the story out. That's all.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all you can do. I mean, anyway, there's just not enough information or anything that you can prove or disprove. It just is what it is. It's just a weird
I,
thing that happened one time.
yeah, far be it from us to challenge what hasn't been proven yet. You know what
Right.
I mean? How
Yeah.
can you prove something that hasn't been really disproven? So can't do that. So just let them tell their stories and have their encounter, and we'll ask a few questions, and just it's really just about enjoying yourself and having a good time. Discussing the topics is really what it's all about.
I've seen you do it though in a very healthy way. I've seen you call some people out on their bullshit, and so I appreciate that.
Well, there are people that have come forward and have gotten busted. Like, well,
Yeah.
just for example, everybody knows like Corey Good. He got busted with the blue avians and all of that. He went to court. They deposed him, and he said he made it all up.
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't be taking money from people when you're telling them that this shit's really happening.
Right.
And then you got busted for being a bullshit artist.
But even
Quite
when
frankly, he should have to give all that money back.
Oh
but
yeah.
when he
Millions of
came out,
dollars.
I mean, I was glued to what he was saying at the time. That was, we're talking a good how many years we saying like
Good 15, 20 years he's
years
been
ago.
going
So
on with his nonsense.
at the time, so that's kind of when the grift started, and other people were basically regurgitating what Corey Good was saying,
Was saying,
Yeah.
right.
slightly changing things. And then it just blew up into like all these people just saying they've had these experiences or their was it assassins, alien, they're
Oh,
assassins.
secret space assassins. You
Oh
got these
Jesus.
super secret space ninja assassins and all this nonsense. But listen, if you want to go out and tell your story that you were a secret space soldier, that's great. Fine. Enjoy yourself. Write a book. But when you go out and you start selling it to the world that it's real and this really happened and, pay for this and give me money for that, but you're selling bullshit fantasies and making people believe that it's real and you're preying on their innocence, I have a problem with that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I have a big problem with that. I don't care if you're forthcoming about what you're doing and then they want to follow you and buy whatever from you. That's one thing. But when you're selling it to them as real
Mm-hmm.
and it's a load of crap, I have a big problem with that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that that's very important. Is to draw that line in the sand somewhere, and I think that's the difference. That's the difference between a lot of these channels and content creators is that they won't draw the line because it brings them money and profit. And
Yeah, right. It's
And
a
they'll
financial
put
business.
anything on. They'll show anything.
right,
And well, there's one particular channel which we're not going to go into, and they're well
it's
known.
true.
But we'll leave it there. I'm not going to say anymore.
I just feel bad for the viewers that get caught up and really
Right,
truly believe it with every fiber in their being. And even when you show them that the person that's selling it to them has admitted that they lied about it, they
But
still try to weasel themselves out. No, I had to tell everybody it was a hoax because the cabal was coming after me and I had no choice. No,
mhm,
yeah,
and then they just start with the grift all over again, just on a
right,
different angle.
but
And
you've
it's
got to
mhm,
sad.
remember. I mean, I remember in the early. We're talking 10, 15, probably more like 15 years ago on YouTube, watching all these UFO channels and just thinking this is amazing. It's all real. It's only you spend long enough, you start to get wise to it and
right.
how the UFO community sort of functions or dysfunctions, should I say?
Sure. Yep.
90, we all know now that like a good, I'd say 85% of it's bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, and that's
Right.
sad.
Well, there's a
It
lot of
really is.
young people now. Let's call it the TikTok generation, who who were like us in the early days, wanting to believe all this and thinking it was real, they will wise up as well at some point.
Exactly. That's what I say. The people that are, let the hoaxers hoax, because the people that are serious about it will come in and they will learn. They will do their homework and they'll do their own research and they'll grow and
Right.
they'll be better for it. And it is unfortunate because the people that come and consume your content, they trust you. They
Yeah.
trust
Exactly.
you know
Exactly.
and so you owe it to them to give them an honest take.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time. I have a personal opinion and a professional opinion. Most of the time my professional opinion is, listen, I don't know. My personal opinion is a bit more critical, and if you decide to take that and you run with it, that's up to you. I don't suggest it. I suggest doing your homework.
Yeah,
um
do your own research. We always tell everybody
yeah,
that. Do your own
because
research, come up with your own conclusions.
we can be wrong, except for some things I'm really good at and I'm not wrong about. But uh
Oh yeah.
we've all got our things. But
Yeah.
anyway, obviously I could talk to you guys forever, and I don't want to keep you here forever. So let's not do that. We'll go ahead and we will we'll shelve it for now, but we'll pick it back up another time. This has been
Oh,
fantastic.
Absolutely.
let's end it before
Absolute
we
pleasure.
offend. One of us offends one of us.
Yeah.
Andy, you cheeky bastard, you.
Well, where can everybody, just go ahead and throw it out there? Where can everybody find you guys at, either individually or the channel or whatever you want to, whatever you want
Channel,
to pimp it out?
Anthony.
Come to Unidentified S4. Right now we kind of shelved the Wednesday episode. We're just throwing up videos at the moment, but every other Friday night we have our new host Andrew Razowitz, the psychic firefighter, is doing his own segments with some very well known people in the UFO and paranormal communities, and then you could find Andy and I primarily on Sundays. We're working on a new Bigfoot documentary that'll be going on Amazon. We're going to start filming in about 5 months, 6 months. Suburban Sasquatch that'll be
I've got
coming
my
out.
suit ready. Big
He's
fat
got his
suit.
Bigfoot suit ready. Yeah, we're going to cover him in hair, and we're going to throw him out in the woods naked.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
no, yeah, we're doing a lot of good things at the channel. We have a lot of very interesting people. So come check out Unidentified S4 and come hang out with us and say hello.
Yep, and if you guys show up, you might see me there sometimes. So there's
Yes.
Oh
a
yes,
treat
yeah.
too. So
Yeah, you're always welcome,
You're
Ashley.
always welcome. And if you ever want to come up and hop on the panel, you're always welcome,
Yeah,
Ashley.
especially if there's someone you don't agree with on the show.
Anytime, we'll let you come up and chew them out.
okay, I'll keep that in my back pocket.
Well,
Well,
thanks a lot, Ashley.
Been
It's
a
been
pleasure.
fun.
Thank you so
Been
much.
great
yeah,
conversation.
thanks for coming on. And like I said, we'll definitely have to, do some more of this sometime. It's great. And
Anytime. This was a lot of fun.
awesome, awesome. Well, for everybody else out there listening, I will see you guys back here next Wednesday.